Welcome to Wife Cheating Story. I hope you have an enjoyable and relaxing time listening. Let's get started.
I used to believe Lucy was my forever, until I found those late-night texts and suspicious hotel receipts tucked away in our desk drawer. Her hushed phone calls and hurried excuses tore holes in the life we built, leaving me seething in the dark. Now, an unsettling rage rattles inside me each time she tiptoes past midnight, reeking of unfamiliar perfume and broken promises. This time, I'm not staying quiet. Documents are gathered, secrets compiled, and the thought of her paying the ultimate price lingers in every silent room of our home. What happens when the betrayed husband finally strikes back? Before we begin, let me know where you're tuning in from down in the comments, and if you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next tale. I remember the moment I first saw Lucy Reeds. We were both sophomores in college, standing in line at the campus coffee shop, waiting for burnt drip coffee we used to pretend tasted like something fancy. She wore a denim jacket and had this confident way of holding herself, like she knew exactly where she was going in life. I was the quiet type, more comfortable fading into the background, but with Lucy, it felt impossible to stay invisible. She introduced herself, smiled in a way that lit up her whole face, and asked me how I liked being a transfer student. Before I could mumble a clumsy response, she'd already invited me to some student organization mixer. It was that fast, that magnetic. We got serious after just 3 months of hanging out nights watching indie films on battered dorm couches, days strolling across campus when we both should have been studying. By the time we graduated, we'd made a plan. Get married, find decent jobs, start a family. It was nothing grand or extraordinary, but it felt perfect to us. Lucy liked to say we were building our own corner of the world, one day at a time. Now, a decade later, our lives look solid from the outside. We live in a neat 2-story home in a quiet suburban neighborhood. There's a picket fence well, a short wooden one. We've got our own lawn to mow, a row of rose bushes Lucy picked out from a local nursery, and a big silver SUV in the driveway. Inside, our daughters, Emma, age 9, and Lily, age 6, fill the halls with squeals, laughter, and the occasional sibling squabble. It's that quintessential family portrait you see in a stock photo. Our mornings tend to be a whirlwind of cereal bowls, lost homework pages, and Lucy's voice reminding the girls to hurry up or they'll be late. Lucy, who kept her maiden name at work, calls herself Lucy Reeds in the office. She's proud of that independence. She works as a financial consultant in a downtown firm, juggling spreadsheets and client presentations. I've always supported her career. Her intelligence and drive are part of what captivated me years ago. Most nights, she returns around 6:30 p.m. to a home-cooked meal. I manage a flexible schedule as a project coordinator for a tech company, so I typically do the cooking. Emma loves her mother's presence at dinner, always excited to tell Lucy about that day's biggest events. "Mom, guess what? I aced my math quiz." Or, "We learned about whales in science class." Lily usually chatters about her latest art project, a new friend from class, or the silly jokes her teacher told. Lucy used to lean in, eyes bright with genuine interest, praising the girls for their accomplishments. But for the past few months, Lucy's enthusiasm at dinner has dulled. She seems distracted. Her phone is never far from reach, and if it buzzes, she'll read messages under the table or excuse herself to take a quick call. The girls notice. Emma asked me once, "Dad, how come Mom's always looking at her phone?" I just said, "She's got a lot going on at work, sweetie." But something in me started to feel unsettled. It's not only dinner that's changed. Lucy and I used to have a standing date night every other Friday, a simple routine of takeout sushi and a movie on Netflix once the kids went to sleep. Lately, though, Lucy's canceled more than she's kept. She'll say she needs to finish some big project, or she has to be in the office early. I try to be understanding because her job can be demanding, but something about her explanations feels inconsistent. I get the sense that she's busy in a different way, one she won't articulate. I brush it off as work stress. Financial consulting can be cutthroat. Lucy has told me stories about insane deadlines or demanding clients. I figure she's just feeling the pressure to impress her boss. Yet a tiny thought in the back of my mind wonders if it's more than that. And lately that tiny thought has grown. Lucy has picked up an odd habit, stepping outside to take phone calls, particularly after 9 p.m. That's the time we usually watch a show together, something mindless to wind down. She used to sit curled up against me under a blanket, absently tapping my knee with her foot whenever she got excited about a plot twist. Now, the second her phone pings, she stands up and says, "I'll be right back," then steps out onto our front porch. The call is always hushed, but I can see her pacing back and forth through the window. The other day, I asked her who she was talking to so late. She paused a moment too long and said, "Just a coworker trying to sort out a last-minute fiasco." I gave a faint nod. Maybe that's true. Or maybe not. I noticed Lucy's social media usage has changed, too. She locks her phone more aggressively, sets it face down on the table. If a notification pops up, she swipes it away fast. If I make a casual comment like, "Everything okay?" she bristles. "I'm just busy." Don't get me wrong, she's never been one to share every text or email with me, and I've always respected her privacy. But it's the secrecy, the defensiveness that raises my antenna. I catch myself scanning Lucy's face at breakfast. She smiles at Emma's excitement over an upcoming field trip, but it doesn't quite reach her eyes. Lily points to the drawing she made, and Lucy nods with forced enthusiasm, saying, "That's wonderful, sweetie," but her phone keeps vibrating on the counter. She's more physically present than emotionally present. My mind churns questions, but I keep them to myself. I keep telling myself she's just going through a rough patch at work. I remind myself of the Lucy I fell in love with. The Lucy who always believed in us, who worked late into the night to pay bills during our early days, who looked at me on our wedding day like I was the only man on earth. That Lucy is in there somewhere, right? But my gut is twisting. Subtle tension lingers like a storm cloud over everyday moments. Lucy sometimes returns home with a faint trace of perfume I don't recognize. I can't be certain, maybe it's a new brand she's trying, or maybe a co-worker's strong scent rubbed off in the elevator. It's 1,000 tiny red flags that stack up, making me uneasy. At times, I feel like a stranger in my own marriage, watching Lucy drift on a current I can't see or touch. I haven't said anything big or accusatory. Maybe part of me is scared of what the answer might be if I ask the real question. This is Lucy, after all, the woman I've built my life around. For now, I keep my worries locked inside. I handle the daily tasks, grocery shopping, picking up the girls, prepping dinner, fixing squeaky doors, paying bills. Our relationship hums along in the background, but there's a static interference that wasn't there before. In the quiet of night, I replay our history. I see us sitting side by side in the college library, Lucy feeding me licorice to keep me awake while studying. I hear her telling me, "I'm going to make something of myself, Michael, and you're going to be right there with me." I never doubted we'd stay side by side. Even now, I want to believe that. But how can you hold tight to someone who seems more and more determined to slip away? The text that finally rattled me came in around midnight on a Thursday. Lucy's phone buzzed, lighting up our dark bedroom like a small neon sign. I was half asleep, but I opened my eyes enough to see Lucy turn over, grab her phone, and quickly hop out of bed. She made her way into the hallway, not even bothering to close the door. Usually, she'd mumble something about finishing a project. This time, there was only silence. I lay there, my heartbeat picking up. Maybe it was just a coworker, some urgent deadline. But there was a nagging voice in my head, the one that had been growing louder for weeks. "Get up," it said. "See what's really happening." So I got up, slid on a shirt, and made my way to the door. Lucy was standing by the stairs, whispering into her phone. She didn't hear me approach, but from the bits of conversation I caught words like, "so risky," "this weekend," and "missing you." My heart sank into my stomach. For a second, my brain refused to process it. It felt like stepping off a familiar path and finding a sheer cliff. Just then, Lucy sensed me. She spun around, her eyes wide like a deer caught in headlights. Her phone nearly slipped from her hand. Without a word, she ended the call and said, "Michael, sorry, did I wake you?" Her voice was unnaturally bright, like forced small talk with a neighbor. I wanted to demand an explanation, but I couldn't form the words. I stared at her, trying to detect any sign of the woman I knew. All I could muster was a stiff, "Everything okay?" Her cheeks flushed red, She opened her mouth, hesitated, then whispered, "Work problem just needed my input. You can go back to sleep." I nodded like a puppet, turned around, and headed back to bed. She didn't follow immediately. I lay there with my heart pounding, adrenaline surging, wide awake. When Lucy finally returned to our bedroom, I pretended to be asleep because I wasn't ready to face the lie in her eyes. The next day, I couldn't function. At work, I sat staring at my computer screen as lines of code blurred. My coworker, Dennis, asked if I was feeling sick. I managed to wave him off, saying I hadn't slept well, but inside I was raging with suspicion and fear. Was Lucy actually having an affair? It felt unreal. This was Lucy, the unstoppable, confident woman who used to greet me with kisses and laughter. That evening, Lucy was out working late, so it was just me and the girls. We had takeout pizza, and while Emma quizzed Lily on math facts, I caught myself watching the clock, convinced Lucy might not come home at all. By 9 p.m., she was still missing. My phone pinged with a text. "Staying at the office. Don't wait up. Sorry." A chill crawled down my spine. She'd never been this abrupt before. Without letting myself overthink, I rummaged through Lucy's old desk in our small study room. She typically stashed receipts, bills, sticky notes there. My hands shook as I flipped through an unorganized pile. It felt wrong to snoop, but an even stronger feeling told me I needed answers. That's when I found them. A few receipts from an upscale bar downtown dated well after 9 p.m. on prior weekdays. Dinners for two, cocktails with suggestive names. My jaw clenched. She was definitely not working on those nights. My heart hammered, and I thought, if she can lie about that, what else? With an uneasy feeling, I grabbed Lucy's laptop from the desk. It was locked with a password. I tried an old favorite code, her birthday. It didn't work. Next, I typed in Emma's birth date, then Lily's. Nothing. Finally, I tried the month and year we first met in college, September 2010. The screen popped open. My pulse raced. A flurry of guilt hit me. I was prying into Lucy's personal life, but the guilt didn't match the anger swirling in my chest. I fumbled through random folders. Nothing jumped out except standard work documents. Then I realized something else. Maybe she was using her personal phone for communication. The clue was in that midnight text. If I could see that message, I heard the back door rattle. Lucy was home. I quickly shut the laptop, set it where I found it, and darted into the living room, pretending to read a magazine on the couch. She walked in, hair slightly disheveled, her eyes flicking around. "Hey," she said, trying to sound casual. "Long day." I forced a calm nod. "Got it. The girls are asleep." We didn't say much else. She headed upstairs, and soon I heard the shower running. Anxiety practically hummed in my veins. I needed more concrete proof. That chance came 2 days later when Lucy, once again, left her phone unguarded in the kitchen while she grabbed groceries from the car. I knew I had mere seconds. Heart thudding in my ears, I pressed the home button and saw a flurry of messages from someone named D. Parker. The last text read, "I can't wait to see you again. Miss everything about you." My stomach flipped. This wasn't vague. This was explicit. I scrolled up, skimming messages. They were peppered with "last night was amazing." "I wish he'd let you breathe," and the one that turned my blood to ice. "I'll reserve the hotel again next Tuesday." That was Lucy's day off. My hands started to shake. I quickly locked her phone and shoved it back where she left it, then hurried to sit at the dining table, lungs burning as if I'd run miles. When Lucy came back in, arms loaded with paper bags, I tried not to meet her eyes. "Can you help me, Michael?" she asked, voice sounding normal. I stood and helped put the groceries away, forcing myself not to scream or confront her on the spot. My mind was a roiling mess, but one thought crystallized. She's really doing this. She's cheating on me. Later that night, I confronted her. The girls were asleep, the house quiet. I stood in our bedroom doorway and said, "Lucy, can we talk?" She looked up from her phone. I noticed it was locked again. "Sure everything okay?" she asked. Her tone was guarded. I swallowed hard. "Who is David Parker?" Her face changed instantly, eyes widening, color draining from her cheeks. She tried to recover with a dismissive shrug. "He's just someone I know from a professional circle." But her voice cracked. I pressed on. "I saw your texts." My words came out low, trembling with anger. "Don't lie to me." For a moment, Lucy looked like she was about to protest. Then she dropped her gaze. "It's not what you think," she whispered, tears forming. It's not serious. I swear." "Not serious? You've been sneaking around for how long?" My whole body felt on the verge of bursting. Lucy shook her head vigorously, tears brimming. "It was just a mistake," Michael stressed. "I was feeling unappreciated at home, and things with David sort of happened. But it's just physical. I don't love him." The word physical sliced through me. I felt betrayed in ways I couldn't even define. I sank onto the edge of the bed, trying to breathe. "Lucy, I can't believe this," I finally said, my voice breaking. "What are we supposed to do now?" She knelt in front of me, eyes brimming with tears. "We have a life together, Michael. Think about the girls. This doesn't have to change anything." My mind reeled. Doesn't have to change anything? My trust was shattered. Everything changed in that moment. But a flicker of desperation told me, if I explode, I lose it all: my kids, my home. So I stared at the woman I'd loved for 10 years, my heart breaking at her betrayal, and realized I had no idea what to do next. I woke up the morning after Lucy's confession with a fierce headache and a hollow ache in my chest. It was like I'd been in a car crash overnight. In a way, I had. My marriage had slammed headfirst into a brutal truth, and everything felt out of place. Lucy was still asleep in our bed, well, more like lying motionless, her back to me. Normally, I'd curl up behind her, maybe rest an arm over her side. Today, I slipped out quietly to avoid looking at her. Downstairs, I sipped black coffee and stared at the silent house. Emma and Lily were still in bed. It was early enough that the sun was just coming up. My eyes landed on wedding photos hanging on the wall. I couldn't help thinking how naive I looked in those pictures, like I believed wholeheartedly in forever. Now, a creeping doubt whispered that maybe I'd been a fool all along. Eventually, Lucy came downstairs, looking as wrecked as I felt. She avoided my eyes, grabbed a banana, and mumbled something about going to work. The tension was thick enough to choke on. I half expected her to say, "Michael, we need to talk." But she just left. It hit me that I was on my own to figure this out. After the girls left for school, I searched online for divorce lawyer near me with shaking hands. A wave of dread washed over me. Was that what this had come to? A legal battle? But the possibility of Lucy continuing her affair with David Parker, maybe even moving out, and taking Emma and Lily felt just as terrifying. I needed professional advice. That's how I found Margaret Collins, a local family attorney with decent reviews. I called her office, surprised when a chipper paralegal said Margaret could see me that afternoon. I made up an excuse to my boss about a personal emergency, hopped in my car, and drove to a modest office building in town. Margaret Collins turned out to be a short, no-nonsense woman in her 50s, wearing glasses on a chain around her neck. Her office was crammed with binders labeled estate, custody, civil, so many that they threatened to tumble off the shelves. She offered a handshake and a polite smile. "Michael Anderson, is that right? Have a seat, please." I sat down and tried not to fidget. She studied me with kind but probing eyes. "Why don't you tell me what's on your mind?" she said, clicking a pen and flipping open a yellow legal pad. I swallowed, suddenly feeling like I was about to bare my soul to a stranger. "My wife's having an affair," I said, voice hoarse. "I just found out last night." Margaret nodded, unfazed. "I'm sorry to hear that. Do you have children?" "2 daughters. Emma's 9, Lily's 6, I managed. She scribbled on the notepad. "And you've been married how long?" "Nearly 10 years, I said. I paused, trying to steady my emotions. I just don't know what to do. She says it's not serious, but I can't." My words caught in my throat. Margaret looked at me with genuine empathy. "It's okay, take your time. I've seen hundreds of situations like this, and they're never easy." She set her pen down. "Can I ask, do you want a divorce, or are you here just to explore your options?" I pressed my lips together. "I'm not sure," I admitted. "We built this life together, but at the same time, I can't accept what she's done. I can't keep living like this." Margaret leaned forward. "Let's talk about Texas family law, how it handles divorce, assets, and custody. Are you familiar with no-fault divorce?" I shook my head. "A bit, but not much." She explained that in many states, including Texas, fault like adultery can be considered by the court, but it typically doesn't guarantee a favorable outcome. Even if Lucy cheated, the law primarily focuses on the children's best interests, dividing assets, and ensuring financial support. It's not like old movies where an affair alone means you automatically lose everything, Margaret said. Family courts aim for an equitable split, and children often go with whichever parent the judge deems most stable. My stomach nodded. So I might lose custody if I go for a divorce? It depends, Margaret said gently, on who's more involved, who can provide a stable environment. Mothers do have an advantage sometimes, especially if they've been the primary caregiver. But that advantage isn't absolute. We'd examine her affair, see if it's affecting the kids. If it's more about your conflict as a couple, the court might still grant shared custody. It's case by case. I felt my pulse roar in my ears. She's not a bad mother, but she's been distant. She's the one stepping out on the marriage, not me. Margaret nodded. Understood. But the courts often prioritize continuity for the children. Does Lucy work full-time? Yes, as a financial consultant. She makes decent money. We both do. I paused, then realized how this might look. We have a nice house, decent savings. If we divorce, who keeps the house? In many scenarios, the parent who has primary custody often gets to stay in the house, especially if the children's lives would be disrupted by moving. If Lucy fights for custody and the judge believes she's more suitable, you could be asked to move out. Also, your joint assets might be split. It can get complicated, which is why we'll need to collect as much evidence as possible. I clenched my fists. So if I file, I could lose my house, my kids, end up paying Lucy while she continues seeing that guy? The thought made me feel both nauseous and livid. Margaret opened her palms. It's a risk, yes. We can fight it, but no guarantee. That's why some people say it's cheaper to keep her. I'm sure you've heard the phrase. Cheaper to keep her, I echoed. It sounded ugly, like some cynical phrase from a battered husband's forum. But part of me understood. If I don't want to lose my children, maybe I had to stick it out, endure Lucy's betrayal. The idea seemed insane, but a bigger fear strangled my pride, losing Emma and Lily. What should I do now? I asked quietly. Margaret leaned back, tapping her pen. Document everything. Keep track of times she's out. How often she's with David Parker instead of caring for the kids. If Lucy isn't fulfilling her parental role, that matters. And if you're providing a stable environment, that strengthens your position. She paused. But just so you know, this can be emotionally draining. People sometimes opt to remain in a marriage for a few years, waiting for better leverage, like if Lucy's affair causes her to neglect the kids, or if you build a stronger financial position for yourself. I slumped in the chair, reeling from the cold logic of it all. So you're saying I should wait? Possibly let her keep cheating? I couldn't finish the sentence. Margaret's eyes were gentle. I'm not saying you have to, just presenting options. If you want to divorce now, we can do it. But you need to understand the potential risks and outcomes, and if the affair is ongoing, you might catch more favorable terms down the line if she slips up as a parent. I nodded silently, a wave of grim understanding washing over me. Life had just become some sort of twisted game of legal chess. Before leaving, Margaret told me her retainer fee, suggesting I take my time to decide. I shook her hand and left with a bundle of pamphlets stuffed into a folder. Driving home, my head throbbed. Everything felt unreal. My wife cheated on me, yet if I tried to leave her, I might lose my entire life. It was a cruel punchline stay with Lucy. Watch her slip off to be with David, or risk losing my family in the eyes of the law. My heart told me the only decent choice was to leave, but my mind insisted the situation was more complicated. For Emma and Lily's sake, maybe I needed to play it smart. I pulled into my driveway and turned off the engine, sitting in silence. Lucy's SUV wasn't there. Probably off working late again. I felt a flash of rage imagining them together, but I pushed it down. Margaret's words echoed in my mind. Document everything. That single piece of advice felt like an anchor in a chaotic storm. For the next week, I lived in a surreal, tense bubble. Lucy acted as if our confrontation, her admission about David Parker, had never happened. She didn't bring it up once. She still came home late, still left the room when her phone buzzed. The difference was that I no longer believed a word she said. The naive trust had vanished, replaced by a cold undercurrent of suspicion that ran through every conversation we had. A few days after the lawyer visit, Lucy was heading out around 7 p.m. "I have to meet a client," she told me in this robotic tone. "I might be back late." She looked exhausted, guilt flickering across her face for a split second. Or maybe that was my imagination. I simply nodded, remembering Margaret's advice. Don't explode. Collect evidence. When Lucy left, Emma wandered over, hugging a math workbook to her chest. "Dad, can you help me with these fractions? Mom said she was too busy." I smiled at her, though my heart twisted. Emma's eyes held a hint of disappointment that Lucy wasn't around again. "Sure, sweetheart. Let's see what you've got." After math practice, I brought Lily in to read a bedtime story. She picked a picture book about dinosaurs, and I read it while she giggled at the silly Trex images. My voice was warm for the girls, but inside I seethed, thinking, Lucy's missing this. She's missing bedtime with Lily, ignoring Emma's math problem just to go meet David somewhere. I forced myself to keep calm. The girls deserved a peaceful night. Once they were asleep, I grabbed a small notebook from the kitchen drawer and jotted the date, the time Lucy left, a note about her leaving for client meeting. I wrote down how she missed dinner with the kids. Then I slid the notebook back into the drawer behind some old coupons, hiding it. It felt like espionage, collecting these tiny details, but it also felt necessary, like building a shield in a battle I never asked to fight. In the days that followed, Lucy and I barely interacted. We avoided each other at night. She'd retreat to the living room or sometimes to our guest room, claiming she didn't want to disturb my sleep. I wouldn't say I hated her, but I was furious and hurt on a level I couldn't describe. My resentment simmered quietly, a slow burn that threatened to boil over any time I let myself dwell on the betrayal. Surprisingly, Lucy still tried to maintain the outer shell of family life. One Saturday morning, she announced we should all go out to brunch. "I heard about this new diner, the Egg Basket. The girls would love it," she said. Emma and Lily perked up, excited. A strange wave of hope flickered in me. Maybe Lucy wanted to reconnect? But at the diner, Lucy spent half the meal checking her phone under the table, forcing a strained smile whenever Emma or Lily asked her something. I sipped my coffee, my jaw tight. I wanted to call her out to say, "For God's sake, Lucy, can you put the phone away and be present for your kids?" But I didn't. The memory of Margaret's counsel and my own internal vow to stay strategic held me back. So I made conversation with the girls, asked about their classes, told jokes about last week's soccer practice. Lucy seemed to zone in and out. On the drive home, Lucy turned the radio up, effectively cutting off any chance for a real conversation. Emma and Lily sang along to a catchy pop song. Lucy stared at the road, lost in thought. By the time we got home, she was exhausted and wanted to lie down. The minute we stepped inside, her phone rang and she practically sprinted upstairs to take the call. I stood there, Lily tugging at my shirt, murmuring about going to the park. "Sure," I told her. "Let's head out." We left Lucy behind, immersed in whatever secret life she was living. At the park, while the girls played on the jungle gym, I sat on a bench, checking my own messages, trying to focus on normal things. It struck me that this was probably how things would be from now on, me alone with the girls, Lucy drifting in and out. My sadness deepened. That evening, as Lucy left for grocery shopping, I seized the chance to search her laptop again. Her email was logged out now, and I couldn't break in. Her text messages were presumably only on her phone. I did find a second credit card statement in a random folder, showing purchases at a hotel bar. The dates matched nights Lucy claimed to be working late, another dagger to the heart. I put everything back and went to the living room, my emotions swirling. I fired up Netflix for background noise and tried to decompress, but the rage wouldn't leave me. Lucy's betrayal felt so blatant, so ongoing, that it was pushing me to a dangerous place. My mind kept replaying the lawyer's words. "If you divorce now, you could lose custody." Anger and fear battled inside me, leaving me paralyzed. In the midst of all this tension, a friend from my tech job, Mark Garcia, invited me to a low-key barbecue. "Bring Lucy, bring the kids," he said. "We can hang out, watch the game, let the kids run around." I was about to decline automatically, then realized that maybe a casual outing would distract me from the swirl of negativity at home. I forced Lucy to come by telling her Mark's wife, Sarah, was excited to see her again. Lucy sighed but agreed. We all piled into the SUV on a warm Sunday afternoon. At the barbecue, Lucy actually laughed a few times, sipping on a beer, chatting with Sarah about some new boutique downtown. For fleeting moments, she looked like the Lucy I used to know, charming, warm, engaged. Emma and Lily chased Mark's kids in the backyard, squealing whenever they got close to tagging one another. I almost felt normal, like we were just a regular couple out with friends, not a husband and wife drowning in secrets. But every so often, Lucy checked her phone, typed something quickly, and then forced a smile. I could only guess she was texting David. My hands curled into fists, though I shoved them into my pockets to keep my anger hidden. I tried to follow Mark's chatter about our upcoming project deadline, but my focus kept drifting to Lucy's phone. She'd glance at the screen and subtly step away, feigning interest in a yard decoration. On the drive back, Lucy and I barely spoke. She stared out the window. The girls fell asleep in the back, worn out from hours of tag and hide-and-seek. I turned the radio off, letting silence reign. My resentment was a living, pulsing thing beside me, almost tangible. Lucy seemed to sense it, but neither of us said a word. Once home, she scooped Lily out of the car seat and carried her upstairs to bed, while I did the same with Emma. We parted ways in the hallway, no goodnight kiss, no gentle teasing, just an awkward nod. In our bedroom, Lucy lay down first, phone in hand. I lingered in the bathroom, staring at my reflection in the mirror. My eyes looked hollow, like I hadn't slept in days. Maybe I hadn't slept well in weeks. I stepped into the bedroom, noticing Lucy's turned-off phone next to her. She was feigning sleep. I stood there, watching her silhouette under the covers, breathing evenly. She probably guessed I'd ask questions if she stayed awake, and maybe I would have. Instead, I grabbed a spare blanket from the closet and headed down to the couch. I didn't want to lie beside her. It felt like lying next to a stranger who was systematically ripping my heart out. As I sank into the cushions, I found a kind of grim determination flickering in me. I can't live like this forever. I thought about Emma and Lily. They deserved better than this strained, fake environment. Lucy was refusing to face the damage she was causing, so I'd have to figure out a path forward. That might mean months, years of building a strategy to ensure I wouldn't lose everything in a divorce. The idea revolted me, but the alternative was letting Lucy do whatever she wanted, with no consequences. I wasn't that kind of man, and Margaret's words had given me a strange sense of purpose. I stared at the dark ceiling, letting my anger settle. This slow-burning resentment was fueling me, forging me into someone I barely recognized, colder, more calculating. If Lucy thought I'd just lie down and accept her affair, she really didn't know me at all. I still remember the first morning I woke up and decided that my life needed a plan, a real plan. Not just getting through the day or tamping down my frustration with Lucy's affair. No. Something deeper clicked inside me the same way you feel a puzzle piece snap into place. That morning, Lucy had already left for work, rushing out with a terse bye that barely registered. Emma and Lily were finishing their cereal at the kitchen table, talking about who they might sit with on the school bus. I felt hollow, but also oddly determined. Once I dropped the kids off, I drove straight to my bank. I'd decided on this move after some restless thinking the night before. Start protecting my finances. The teller recognized me from a few previous visits. Her name tag read Clarissa. I put on my best calm expression and said, "I need to open a new personal checking account." She typed away at her keyboard, asked me a few routine questions. After 20 minutes, I walked out with the details of a new separate account. The plan was to quietly transfer a chunk of our joint savings there. Legally, it was still half mine, but the move felt both exhilarating and terrifying, like I was crossing a line of no return. In the car, I breathed in and out, feeling my heart race. This was the first real step strategic composure, as I called it in my head. If Lucy was going to keep stepping out on our marriage, I had to ensure I wouldn't be left financially stranded when the hammer finally fell. I spent the rest of that day working from home, juggling a software client call between random spreadsheets tracking our monthly expenses. Normally, I'd handle budgets in a relaxed way, making sure we met the mortgage, put aside money for the kids' activities, and so on. But now, I dissected every line item. If Lucy planned to break us, at least I would have the means to keep Emma and Lily in stable conditions. I typed notes. Monthly mortgage, utility bills, school fees. I wanted a crystal clear picture of everything. Around noon, Lucy texted me. "Hey, running late. Might not be back until after 7. That used to sting. Now it just fueled my resolve." I responded, "Understood. Be safe." Then I immediately wrote in my small notebook, "Lucy out again, 7 p.m., likely with David." It was starting to become second nature, recording times, dates, and any supporting details that might later prove she was neglecting her role in the family. When Emma and Lily got home from school, I stashed my notes away. They didn't need to see their father scribbling evidence like a detective. We talked about normal stuff. Emma's math quiz, Lily's excitement about an upcoming class project on butterflies. We did a quick grocery run, then I made spaghetti for dinner. Lucy was still gone, so I took advantage of the quiet house to review an app my coworker had recommended for securely storing digital files. With a few clicks, I started uploading screenshots, pictures of Lucy's cryptic text messages, receipts from her suspicious outings. This was the next piece of my plan: gather everything in one secure place. If Lucy found or deleted something on my laptop or phone, I'd still have an off-site backup. I noticed I was no longer trembling or feeling sick when I saw evidence of her betrayal. A numbness had taken root. I wanted to protect myself and the kids, focusing on a future that might not include Lucy. The guilt about spying on her still gnawed at me sometimes, but each time I reminded myself, she made this choice first. I was just making sure I didn't end up blindsided. One of the biggest changes I made was my demeanor around Lucy. I tried to act neutrally polite. We used to bicker or get into short, tense arguments whenever she canceled family plans or ducked out for a late-night client meeting. But now, when she waltzed in after bedtime, I just nodded, said goodnight, and vanished into my home office. If she was rattled by my calm distance, she didn't show it. Usually, she'd just murmur some excuse and slip off to the guest room. About a week into this new regime, I got a call from Margaret Collins, my lawyer. She was following up, checking in to see if I was all right. "How are things at home?" she asked in a clipped but concerned tone. "Calm on the surface," I told her, glancing at my closed office door. "But I'm collecting what we discussed." I didn't want to say too much on the phone. "Good," she said. "Just remember to keep your emotions in check for now. You want Lucy to be the one making mistakes, not you. Don't give her any reason to paint you as volatile." I exhaled. "I know." And I did. The idea of losing Emma and Lily kept me disciplined. It was bizarre, living day to day with an unfaithful spouse, but the girls' well-being anchored my every move. That evening, Lucy came home a bit earlier than usual, right after dinner time. She looked tired. The moment she stepped inside, her phone went off. Instead of retreating to another room, she just tapped it silent and dropped onto the couch, letting out a deep sigh. This was unusual. I couldn't help but wonder if something had rattled her. Maybe she and David had an argument. Maybe he was busy with his own life. Who knew? "Hey," she said softly, looking at me across the living room. I was helping Lily with a puzzle on the coffee table. "Hi," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. Lily glanced between us, probably sensing the tension. Lucy fiddled with the corner of a cushion. "You need any help with stuff?" She gestured vaguely toward the kitchen. I shook my head. "Already done. Lily's finishing her puzzle, then it's bedtime." Lucy nodded, forcing a smile at Lily. "Need my help, sweetie?" Lily shrugged, making it clear she was used to me being the one who helped with bedtime tasks now. There was a time when Lucy's attempt to re-engage might have given me hope, but in that moment, all I saw was an exhausted woman who seemed more concerned about how to keep her double life functioning. Still, I kept my composure and let her sit with Lily. I stepped away, giving them space. Inside, I felt a flicker of satisfaction at controlling my reactions. This was the new me, unflappable, watchful, preparing for the day Lucy would finally see the consequences of her choices. Later that night, after the girls went to bed, Lucy hovered near my office door. "Michael," she said quietly, "can we talk?" I swiveled in my chair, heart pounding but face calm. Sure. She walked in, arms crossed. Look, I know things have been weird. I mean, I can sense you're distant. You barely argue with me anymore. Her voice quivered slightly. Do you hate me that much? Hate. The word echoed in my mind. I glanced at my desk, where I'd just been digitizing more receipts. I forced myself to meet her eyes. I'm disappointed, I said, but I'm also dealing with reality. I don't see a reason to fight all the time. She studied my face. I wondered if she was trying to gauge how much I knew or whether I'd accepted her affair. After a moment, she sighed. I still care about you. We're a family, right? My jaw clenched. We are a family, but you and I were not the same anymore. Lucy's lips trembled as if she wanted to say something else. Finally, she just nodded and walked out. In another era, I might have run after her, demanding we fix what was broken. Now I stayed in my chair, staring at my computer's glowing screen. No, Lucy, I thought, we're not the same, and that's on you. I took a breath and clicked another folder, scanning new lines of bank statements. My separate checking account was fully operational now. I'd managed to discreetly route a few direct deposits there. In a few weeks, that sum would be large enough to provide me with real security if everything exploded. The sense of control was strangely comforting, and so I continued calm, strategic, biding my time knowing this was only the beginning of a larger plan. 2 days after I opened the secret account, Lucy tried to bring up making things normal again. It happened over breakfast, which was rare enough she normally dashed off before the rest of us had our shoes on. But this morning, she lingered at the table, sipping coffee while Emma recounted a dream about a talking dog that solved mysteries. I helped Lily tie her shoelaces. We were all in the kitchen, the bright overhead light revealing everyone's tired faces. So, Lucy began in a careful tone, maybe we could do something together this weekend, as a family? Her eyes flicked toward me. A movie night, or we could drive out to that orchard place? I glanced at Emma and Lily, who both looked up hopefully. They missed the old version of us, no question. But the orchard plan felt hollow, especially when Lucy's phone was buzzing with a text from David Parker not 30 minutes earlier. Instead of refusing outright, I shrugged. Sure, if time permits. I didn't want to break the kids' hearts, but I also wouldn't pretend we were the perfect couple. Lucy exhaled, relieved I wasn't openly hostile. Emma grinned. I love apple cider donuts. Lily squealed about feeding goats. The girls were so happy at the idea it twisted my stomach. Lucy gave me a tight smile, then rose from the table. Gotta run. Clients waiting, she mumbled, snagging her purse on the way out. In the silence that followed, Emma asked me quietly, Dad, is Mom mad at us? Lily looked worried too. I forced a gentle grin. No, honey, she's just busy. But hey, orchard this weekend. That'll be fun. They perked up again, and I wondered if Lucy would actually show. My gut told me she'd bail, but I couldn't crush their excitement. That evening, Lucy texted me. Can we talk tonight after kids are in bed? My pulse spiked. Had she caught wind of my new finances? Did she suspect I was tracking her? I replied with a simple, okay. Around 10 p.m., once the girls were settled, Lucy tapped on my office door. I motioned her in, trying to look neutral. She noticed me reading a gardening magazine, an odd hobby I'd picked up just to calm my nerves. Lucy shifted her weight. I've been thinking about our sleeping arrangements. Her gaze darted to the hallway. I knew she referred to how I'd quietly started sleeping in the guest room or on the couch. She continued, It's weird for the girls. They notice you're not upstairs. I set the magazine down. What's your point, Lucy? She swallowed. Look, I'm not saying we have to, be intimate, but maybe at least sleep in the same room. For them, it might help if they see we're not at war. For a second, I pictured Lucy's expression if she discovered my folder of evidence. I forced a calm breath. I don't think that's a good idea, I said evenly. There's a lot we haven't resolved. Sleeping in the same room won't fix it. I could almost hear Margaret's voice in my head, reminding me not to revert to old patterns. Lucy's eyes flashed with a mix of frustration and hurt. She took a half step toward me, as if she was considering a more personal approach. You know, Michael, she said, lowering her voice, we can do it differently. Maybe we talk about us, our bedroom. She was implying something sexual, maybe expecting me to jump at the chance. But in my mind, all I saw was a mocking reality. She'd been with David last week, probably still was. I refused to be her consolation prize. "Thanks, but no," I said softly. "I'm not interested in playing that game." She flinched as though I'd slapped her. "Fine," she muttered, stepping back. "If you think being cold and distant helps the kids, do what you want." Then she spun around and left, footsteps heavy on the stairs. I sat there for a long while, letting the tension cool. A faint sense of triumph flickered in me. I'd refused her seduction, or pity, or whatever she was offering. She wanted to keep me complacent, but I was done with that role. It felt like a risk, though. If she suspected I was building a case, she might start playing her own legal angles. But for now, she was either too confident or too distracted to realize how methodically I was shutting her out. The next morning, Lucy left early again, and the girls complained that she'd promised to make them pancakes. I apologized on her behalf, whipping up some scrambled eggs instead. Then I drove them to school. On my way home, I stopped for coffee at a small local cafe, trying to clear my head before starting work. While I waited in line, I noticed an old acquaintance, Tyler Page, who used to live on our street. He offered me a stiff smile and asked how the family was doing. "Fine," I lied, but he gave me a knowing look people in suburbs pick up on tension. He just nodded politely and said something about Lucy always working late. I forced a laugh and changed the subject. Even passing interactions felt loaded now, each conversation a reminder that Lucy and I were drifting in opposite directions. That weekend, Lucy was a no-show for the orchard trip. As predicted, she texted last minute. "Client meeting. Sorry. You and the girls have fun." I swallowed the wave of bitterness and took the girls anyway. Emma was clearly upset, but I helped her feed goats, and Lily squealed when she got an apple from the orchard staff. We tried the cider donuts, watched some local kids race in a sack race, and for a few hours I forgot about Lucy's betrayal. The fresh air and the kids' laughter gave me a taste of normalcy. But driving back, Emma stared at the orchard sign retreating in the rearview mirror. "Mom said she really wanted to come," she murmured, fidgeting with the zipper on her jacket. Lily was asleep, head lolling in her car seat. I forced a neutral expression. "She's been busy, sweetheart. It's not your fault." A painful silence stretched between us. Emma just nodded, eyes downcast. When we got home, Lucy's car was gone. The girls trotted inside, and I set down a bag of leftover donuts on the kitchen counter. I jotted in my notebook. Lucy absent from orchard trip, 12. 306, 0 p.m. No dinner with kids. The act felt mechanical now. I was meticulously documenting her absence from family life, which would support my eventual custody argument if it came to that. The more I wrote, the more convinced I became that Lucy was forging her own undoing. That night, Lucy finally came home around 9 p.m. wearing a grin that vanished when she saw me waiting at the dining table sorting mail. Emma and Lily were already in bed. She paused as if expecting me to lash out, but I kept my voice steady. "How was work?" She exhaled in relief, maybe at my neutral tone. "Busy. You know how it is." "Sure," I said. "Girls had fun at the orchard." I pointed to the leftover donuts. "We saved you some." She nodded, avoiding my eyes. "Thanks." She reached for a donut, took a small bite, then set it down like she'd lost her appetite. An uncomfortable silence followed. I soon stood and walked past her. "I'm beat. Good night." She turned, maybe ready to say something, but I didn't pause. I felt her gaze on my back as I headed upstairs. In my makeshift bedroom, the old guest room, I stared at the ceiling. My boundaries were in place. I no longer let her seduce or manipulate me. I no longer let her break the kids' hearts without taking note of it for the future. This calculated distance was building a wedge between us so wide, it might never be bridged. But that was the whole point. If Lucy refused to correct her path, I needed to be prepared for a world where it was just me and the girls. Let her come to me if she wanted to fix it. Otherwise, I'd keep piling up every piece of evidence that would protect my family from her reckless choices. By the time our next weekend rolled around, I felt so stifled in the house that I suggested a small getaway for me and the girls. Lily, wide-eyed, begged to go camping by a lake she'd just learned about frogs in school and wanted to see them in real life. Emma chimed in, excited to be out in nature. I didn't bother inviting Lucy this time. I was done hearing last-minute excuses. I found a lakeside campground about 2 hours away with decent amenities. We packed up the car Friday afternoon. A small tent, sleeping bags, a cooler for hot dogs and snacks. The girls were giddy at the chance to sleep under the stars. Lucy barely acknowledged our departure, just muttered a half-hearted, "Have fun." We arrived at the campground near sunset. Tall pine trees rustled in the breeze. The sun's last rays danced on the lake's surface. I paid the park ranger, who directed me to our campsite. Setting up the tent turned into a comedic adventure. Emma held the poles, Lily tried to help, and the instructions didn't match the model I'd bought. Eventually, we figured it out. By the time we got the fire pit started, the sky was darkening, and the girls pointed to the first stars, faces full of wonder. That night, after roasting marshmallows, we snuggled in the tent. Lily dozed off first, but Emma stayed awake, wanting to talk about random things, school drama, her best friend's birthday party coming up. I listened, heart heavy yet warm. Even if Lucy was drifting away, at least I had these pure moments with the kids. At some point, Emma's breathing slowed, and I realized she'd fallen asleep mid-sentence. Smiling, I closed my eyes, letting the chorus of crickets lull me toward rest. Tomorrow we'd explore the lake and maybe spot some frogs for Lily. Morning came with chirping birds, and I stumbled out of the tent to start a small camp stove. As I was rummaging in the car for instant coffee packets, I heard a familiar voice call, "Michael? Is that you?" I turned, squinting at a tall figure walking toward me, a golden retriever trotting at her side. It took me a second to recognize her. Rachel Morgan, Lucy's longtime best friend from college. We'd met countless times at dinners or house parties Lucy hosted, though never without Lucy being present. She looked as surprised as I felt. "What are you doing here?" she asked. Her friendly smile softened any awkwardness. The dog sniffed around near my feet. I rubbed the back of my neck. "Camping with my daughters." I gestured to the tent. Emma and Lily were peeking out, curious about the stranger and her dog. They wanted a little outdoor adventure. Rachel nodded. "I'm staying in a small RV with my friend Michelle a few sites down." She gave a short laugh. "This campground's nice for a quick escape from the city." Guess we had the same idea. It felt strange to see Lucy's best friend here, of all places, especially given the rift in my marriage. We made small talk about the weather, the lake, and how the kids were finishing up their school year. Rachel tossed a tennis ball for her dog, who barreled past us. Over the conversation, I noticed Rachel seemed a bit more reserved than usual. I'd known her to be quite outgoing around Lucy, but now she wore an expression like she had a question she was afraid to ask. Finally, she glanced at me, lowering her voice. "Michael, is everything okay with Lucy? She's been off lately." I hesitated. Did Rachel know about the affair? Lucy and Rachel were close, but Lucy wasn't exactly bragging about her fling with David. "Things at home are complicated," I admitted. "Lucy and I, well, we're having problems." A worried crease appeared on Rachel's forehead. She sighed. "I've suspected something was going on. Lucy's messages to me have been so vague, and the few times I saw her in the last couple months, she seemed distant. You know, she used to rant about her job or talk about you and the girls. Now she clams up if I ask anything personal." She paused, checking if Emma and Lily could overhear us. They were busy trying to coax the dog to chase them. Rachel leaned closer. "Can I ask, is she seeing someone else?" The directness caught me off guard. My heart twisted. "She told you that?" Rachel shook her head. "No, but it's not like Lucy to just vanish on weekends or ignore my calls. I can put two and two together." Her tone was both exasperated and sad. "I'm sorry if that's overstepping." Taking a breath, I motioned for us to step away from the tent. "Look, I won't pretend to hide it. Lucy's been unfaithful. I don't know if it's still going on, but—" I swallowed. "Things at home are bad." Rachel pressed her lips together. "Damn. I suspected, but it's still shocking to hear." She looked genuinely upset, glancing at the girls again. "I care about your family. I hate seeing you all like this." My chest clenched. "I appreciate that. I'm managing, you know, for Emma and Lily's sake." She gave a slow nod. If you ever need help or someone to talk to, don't hesitate to call. Lucy's like a sister to me, but I can't condone what she's doing. It's not right." Her brow furrowed in frustration, and she exhaled as though searching for the right words. Honestly, I tried confronting her once asked why she was always busy. She shrugged me off. An odd sense of relief flooded me. Usually, I felt alone in this mess. Hearing that Rachel disapproved of Lucy's behavior gave me some validation. "Thanks," I said quietly. We chatted about safer topics after that, how the dog, Buddy, was a rescue, how Rachel's friend Michelle was traveling. Before parting ways, Rachel smiled at Emma and Lily, who'd warmed up to Buddy. She said, "I might come by later if that's cool. Show the kids some dog tricks." I nodded. They'd love that. After she left, I found myself replaying her concern. Lucy's best friend disapproved of Lucy's affair. It was a small comfort that I wasn't crazy or alone in feeling betrayed. Later in the day, Rachel stopped by with Buddy, bringing a couple of juice boxes for the girls and chatting easily with me about random life topics. She asked how my job was going, how I managed the kids' schedules. Nothing dramatic, just friendly conversation under the dappled shade of pine trees. But I noticed a certain empathy in her eyes. She seemed genuinely worried about our situation back home. I told her a bit more careful not to overshare. She listened without judgment, occasionally shaking her head in quiet disbelief. The kids fell in love with Buddy, tossing a frisbee until Lily collapsed with giggles. Rachel eventually waved goodbye, saying she'd see me around or maybe tomorrow morning before we left. That night, as the girls slept, I sat by the dying campfire, lost in thought. A part of me had never expected Lucy's closest friend to disapprove so openly of her actions. Maybe Lucy was more isolated than I realized. That could be useful if I eventually needed someone to corroborate how Lucy neglected her marriage. I felt a pang of guilt at thinking so strategically about a person who just extended kindness to me. But I couldn't help it. My mind was always moving now, playing out scenarios like chess moves. Still, I appreciated Rachel's honesty. It felt good to know not everyone was blind to Lucy's behavior. And as I stared at the flickering embers, the line from Margaret's document, everything echoed in my head. Maybe part of that documentation involved gathering personal accounts, if it came down to it. I didn't want to rope Rachel into a courtroom drama, but the notion lingered. For now, I was content that at least one person saw my side clearly and wasn't afraid to say Lucy was in the wrong. Returning from our camping trip felt like stepping back into a tense standoff. Lucy was home when we arrived, scrolling on her phone in the living room. She offered the girls a brief smile, asked how they liked the trip. Emma answered politely. Lily described a frog sighting in detail. Lucy nodded absently, as though ticking a box. No mention of her own weekend, no apology for missing out. I carried our gear upstairs, eager to unpack. When I came back down, I found Lucy rummaging through a pile of mail on the kitchen counter. She glanced at me with an uncertain expression. "We need to talk about some bills," she said, tapping an envelope from our mortgage lender. "I noticed a change in the autopay schedule. Did you do something to the joint account?" I kept my face neutral. "I changed some settings, yeah. We've been overspending in certain areas, so I adjusted a few automatic payments." My voice was calm, but inside I braced for her reaction. She studied me, suspicion flickering in her eyes. "You could have told me, Michael." "Maybe," I replied. "But we haven't exactly been communicating well, have we?" I moved past her to start unloading groceries. She didn't press the issue further, but a tension lingered in the air. I was sure she'd eventually notice that the balance was different, significantly different. But for now, she seemed too wary to push. The next day, I made an appointment with Margaret Collins. Over the phone, I'd hinted at collecting more evidence about Lucy's absences. She sounded supportive. "We'll refine our custody argument then. Bring what you have." So I printed out phone logs, receipts, and scribbled notes of Lucy's missed nights, comparing them with her credit card statements in some cases. Looking over the timeline, even I was startled by how frequently Lucy had been gone. The pattern was undeniable. When I walked into Margaret's office, she greeted me with a firm handshake. Her glasses glinted in the fluorescent light, and her desk was cluttered with case files. "So you've made progress, I see," she said, gesturing at my stack of documents. I settled into the chair. "Yes, I also have screenshots of suspicious texts from Lucy's phone." I slid them across the desk. One's a direct conversation with David Parker, referencing hotel meetups. Another shows Lucy canceling plans with the kids to see him. Margaret leafed through them, nodding. "This is good. Very specific," she muttered. "Judges like clear evidence, especially if it shows she's prioritizing her affair over the children." She looked up. "Are you mentally prepared to file soon?" My chest tightened. Part of me still couldn't believe I was orchestrating a divorce, but the memory of Lucy's repeated betrayals pushed aside my hesitation. "Yes," I said quietly, voice steady. "I can't live in limbo forever." She gave a small smile. "All right, let's talk about next steps. We'll finalize your petition for divorce, focusing on custody. The goal is to serve Lucy with papers when she least expects it, maximizing impact so she can't quickly hide or destroy evidence." Her matter-of-fact tone might have once seemed cold, but now it felt reassuring. This was a plan. This was structure. We spent an hour refining the legal language. Margaret explained we'd request primary custody for me, with Lucy allowed visitation. We'd also aim for a fair division of assets, but with the argument that Lucy's affair and her financial spending tied to it demonstrated irresponsibility. Margaret typed notes on her computer, frequently referencing my stack of proof. At one point, she paused and said, "Michael, I need to ask, does Lucy's best friend know about this?" I blinked, remembering my recent run-in with Rachel at the campground. "She's aware Lucy's having an affair," I admitted, "but I don't know if Lucy told her everything. Why?" Margaret shrugged. "Sometimes friends become witnesses if they have direct knowledge of the affair's impact on the children or any neglect. Just keep that in mind. We might or might not need it. If she's willing to cooperate, it can bolster your case." The idea unsettled me, dragging Rachel into a legal fight. Yet I understood. Lucy's friend might hold valuable insights. Secret allies, I recalled from my mental notes. "I'll keep that in mind," I said, though I wasn't sure I'd actually call on Rachel. Still, it was another piece of the puzzle. We wrapped up, and Margaret handed me a small folder labeled Petition Draft. She suggested reading it carefully, ensuring I agreed with every clause. "Once you sign off, we'll finalize and arrange for serving the papers. Don't let Lucy see this," she warned. Driving home, I kept the folder tucked in my laptop bag. That evening, Lucy was out again, some dinner with coworkers, she claimed. Emma noticed my tense expression while I cooked dinner. She hovered by the kitchen island, watching me chop vegetables. "Dad, are you okay?" she asked softly. She was only 9, but she'd grown more perceptive in these last few months. I forced a gentle smile. "Just a bit stressed about work, kiddo. Nothing for you to worry about." Emma frowned, clearly not convinced, but she didn't push. Lily, meanwhile, was in the living room coloring, cheerfully humming a cartoon theme. At least they had each other. After tucking them into bed, I spread the petition draft out on my desk. The words blurred under my gaze. Petition for divorce grounds, for insupportability custody, and child support. My chest felt tight. This was the path I'd chosen to ambush Lucy with a reality check she wouldn't see coming. My mind flashed to a memory of Lucy and me years ago, dancing in our kitchen to a silly pop song, laughing so hard we could barely stand. Now I was planning how best to serve her legal papers. It was tragic, but it was also the only way forward. I got a text from Rachel right then. It read, "Hey, just checking in. Everything okay?" Surprising timing. Perhaps she sensed the tension ramping up. I typed back, "Thanks for asking. Kids are good. Lucy's out. I'm working on next steps." She responded with a thumbs up and a short note. "Remember, I'm here if you need me." That simple message felt like a lifeline in a storm. Before Lucy returned, I filed the draft away, then went downstairs to wait. Around 10:30 p.m., she walked in, looking half satisfied, half anxious. Her phone beeped again, likely a follow-up from David. She headed straight upstairs, not bothering to say hello beyond a mumbled, "I'm tired." I followed more slowly, turning off lights. In the dark corridor near the bedrooms, I paused by the door to the guest room, my makeshift space for the past few weeks. That sense of isolation mingled with a grim determination. I was protecting Emma and Lily. Lucy might not see it that way, but her ongoing neglect left me no choice. Inside my room, I sat at the edge of the bed, flipping through the petition once more. A single phrase kept echoing in my mind from my conversation with Margaret. Maximize the impact so she can't quickly hide or destroy evidence. That meant serving Lucy at a time and place where she'd be completely caught off guard. I thought about how humiliating it would be for her to be served in front of co-workers or at home, with neighbors watching. Another wave of pity washed over me, but I squashed it. She'd made her choices, and if she wanted to continue ignoring the family for David Parker, she could deal with the fallout. Carefully, I tucked the papers back into my file. My revenge, if you could call it that, was nearly set. It wasn't a spontaneous, vengeful strike. It was cold, methodical, bulletproof. I'd quietly gathered Lucy's patterns, readied a separate bank account, documented her absences. Now I held a draft that would shape my future, ensuring I wouldn't lose custody of my children or be left penniless. My heart pounded as I flicked off the lamp. I pictured Lucy upstairs in our old bedroom, phone glowing against her face. Maybe she was texting David, telling him about another weekend getaway. My lips tightened. A voice in my head told me, "The time for waiting is almost over, Lucy. Soon you'll understand the consequences of your betrayal." Lucy cornered me in the kitchen one morning, a determined look on her face. The sun had just crept over the backyard fence, illuminating the specks of dust in the air. Emma and Lily were off at school, leaving the house in an uneasy quiet. Lucy hadn't bothered to slip out early like she usually did. Instead, she was pacing around the fridge, biting her lip. Finally, she said, "Michael, we need to discuss something important." Her voice was clipped, but there was a tremor under the surface, as if she was bracing herself. I set down my mug of coffee, crossing my arms. "All right, what is it?" She took a moment, eyes darting away, then back to me. "I can't keep living in this awkward silence. It's killing me. Look." Lucy hesitated, jaw tight. "I love you. You know I do. And we've built a family together. But things have changed between us. Maybe we need a different arrangement." The word arrangement made my stomach clench. I could sense where this was heading. "Go on," I said in a careful tone. Lucy inhaled sharply, folding her arms protectively. I can't cut David off completely. I've tried to think about it, but I just can't see him vanish. So what if—" Her voice wavered. "What if we tried an open marriage?" I stared at her, the silence thickening. An open marriage? She stood there, fingers twitching at her sides, as though waiting for me to nod and comply. The audacity of it all churned in my gut. She was already deep in an affair, yet she wanted me to sign off on it. When I didn't respond right away, Lucy pressed on, voice trembling with forced logic. "People do it, Michael. They have arrangements. It's modern. It's honest. You wouldn't have to worry about me hiding anything anymore. And we can still be a family. The girls don't have to suffer through a nasty breakup or divorce. We can be civil." I swallowed the surge of anger that threatened to spill out. "So you're saying you want both of us?" I said quietly. She met my gaze with a hint of defensiveness. "Is that so bad? I love you. I love our kids. David fulfills something else in me that I can't explain." My heart pounded, but I kept my face blank. "And what about what I want, Lucy?" She exhaled shakily. "If you need someone else, I won't stop you," she said, as if it were a generous compromise. "I'm not asking to keep you locked down, but let's be real, you haven't touched me in ages. Maybe you're already seeing someone too." I let that accusation hang in the air. Rachel's face flickered through my mind, her empathy, and how it had been a lifeline. But I wasn't about to reveal anything that Lucy could twist against me. "You're out of line," I murmured. "I'm not the one sneaking off to hotels." Lucy's cheeks flushed. She steadied herself, eyes glistening with frustration. "Look, I'm offering a solution that keeps this family intact. We can raise our daughters under one roof. You do your thing, I do mine, but we stay married for Emma and Lily." For a long moment, we just stared at each other. "There would be consequences," I finally said in a measured tone. "I hope you realize that." She frowned. "Consequences? Like what?" I didn't elaborate. My mind flashed to the folder of evidence hidden in my home office, the phone logs, the bank records. Instead, I just gave her an unreadable look. I'm not agreeing to anything yet, I said, stepping away from the kitchen island. But if you want an open marriage, be prepared for whatever fallout comes next. Because I won't live in denial. She stared, lips parting in confusion or worry. I didn't give her a chance to dig deeper. I walked out of the kitchen, my pulse thumping in my ears. My phone vibrated in my pocket, a text from my lawyer, Margaret Collins, reminding me we had a quick check-in call this afternoon. Perfect timing. Back in the privacy of my makeshift bedroom, I closed the door and dialed Margaret. We might be moving up our timeline, I said, my voice edged with tension. Lucy just demanded an open marriage. Margaret didn't sound surprised. That could play into your favor in court, she remarked calmly. If she's openly suggesting an arrangement while ignoring her parental responsibilities, it strengthens our claim. I exhaled, running a hand over my face. She's delusional, thinking I'd go along with this. But I'm not ready to file today. I want to see if there's any new evidence I can gather, something that shows she's not just cheating, but also neglecting the kids. Understood, Margaret said. Keep your eyes open. Later that day, I scrolled through Lucy's shared credit card transactions online and noticed a suspicious hotel charge in a nearby city, a weekend getaway, probably with David. The date was just last week, when she was supposedly working overtime. I snapped a screenshot, my jaw tight with grim satisfaction. Another puzzle piece added to my arsenal. That night, Lucy and I barely spoke. As the girls played on a rug in the living room, Lucy scrolled on her phone, face tense. I sensed her frustration at my non-committal response. She'd probably hoped I'd be outraged enough to fight or give in to her twisted logic. Instead, I just let her proposal dangle in the air like a ticking time bomb. At bedtime, I kissed Lily's forehead, then Emma's, wishing them sweet dreams. Downstairs, the house was eerily silent. Lucy had retreated to the patio, phone pressed to her ear. My guess? Another conversation with David, maybe bragging that she'd confronted me about an open marriage. I grabbed my own cell, mind racing. This is it, the first domino. Lucy had effectively declared war with that ultimatum, and I wasn't about to let her script the narrative. Before lights out, I texted Rachel. Lucy wants an open marriage. I'm about to push back hard. Just letting you know. Rachel replied almost immediately. That's insane. Let me know if you need anything. Her unwavering support gave me a strange reassurance. A short while later, as I drifted off on the couch, I refused to share the bedroom with Lucy. My phone buzzed again. It was from Lucy. A short text, probably sent from upstairs. Don't ignore me forever. My eyes hovered on the screen. I tapped the phone to lock it, ignoring her. She could wait. Tomorrow or soon, I'd make my move. For now, I'd let her believe I was just stewing in anger. But inside, I felt the smoldering embers of my plan flaring up. Lucy had pushed the situation to a point of no return. The next time she lied or stepped out, I'd be ready. All I needed was one more solid piece of evidence, something big. Then I'd blow this charade wide open. Lucy was in a sparkling mood the next day, which was suspicious by itself. She hummed while making coffee, smiling at the girls as though everything was normal. Emma mentioned a school art project. Lucy actually asked to see her sketches after dinner. Lily wanted help braiding her hair. Lucy obliged. From an outsider's perspective, she seemed like the picture-perfect mother. Around noon, when the girls were at school and Lucy was supposedly working, a process server hired by my attorney slipped quietly through our front gate. He knocked on the door, but Lucy wasn't home, so he left. My heart pounded at the near miss. We'd arranged to serve the divorce papers at the house, thinking Lucy would be there. I texted Margaret. She's out. And she replied that the server would try again soon. Later that afternoon, Lucy pulled into the driveway, phone jammed between her ear and shoulder as she juggled her laptop bag. I peered through the window, my stomach twisting. This was the moment I'd waited for a chance to show her I wasn't bluffing. The doorbell rang within minutes. I could see the process server through the frosted glass. Lucy answered, frowning at the stranger who asked, "Lucy Reeds Anderson?" She nodded, confusion flickering in her eyes. Then he handed her a large envelope and declared, "You've been served." He snapped a photo on his phone for legal proof and walked away, leaving Lucy frozen on the doorstep, clutching the papers. I watched from the hallway, my heart pounding as if I'd run a marathon. Lucy stared down at the envelope, flipping it open. As she scanned the words petition for divorce, her face shifted from confusion to horror. She turned abruptly, eyes darting around the house until they landed on me. "You!" Her voice cracked. "What the hell is this?" she demanded, stepping inside and slamming the door. Her expression radiated both shock and fury. I stood in the hallway, arms crossed. "Exactly what it looks like," I said calmly. "I'm filing for divorce, Lucy." She let out a short laugh, laced with panic. "Are you insane? We have a mortgage and 2 kids. You can't just decide on a whim to blow up our family." My blood boiled at her hypocrisy. She'd been blowing up our family for months, maybe years, but I forced myself to keep my composure. "This wasn't a whim. You made it clear you want David in your life, and now you want an open marriage, as if that solves everything. I'm done living like that." Her voice trembled with rage, tears welling in her eyes. "You're not taking Emma and Lily from me," she hissed, stepping closer. "I'll get a lawyer, and you'll end up on the street while I keep the house. Just watch me." My stomach tightened. This was the threat I'd always feared, but I'd prepared for it. "Take a look at the evidence I've included," I said, nodding at the documents stapled behind the official petition. "Your credit card statements, text messages, times you left the kids alone while you snuck off to see David. You think a judge will ignore all that?" She rifled through the pages, her eyes growing wide at the proof of her affair. Then, in a mixture of desperation and fury, she flung the papers on the floor. "You bastard!" she spat, her voice quivering. "You've been spying on me?" I clenched my fists but kept them at my sides. "You made choices, Lucy. I just documented them." Her breath came in sharp bursts. She looked like she wanted to scream but couldn't form the words. Suddenly, Emma and Lily's laughter echoed from the driveway. They were home from school. Lucy had forgotten to pick them up, so I'd arranged a neighbor's teen daughter, Sarah, to walk them over. The girls bounded inside, rosy-cheeked, their chatter dying instantly when they saw Lucy's tear-streaked face and me standing stiffly across from her. "Mom? Dad?" Emma looked nervous, eyes flicking between us. Lily clutched her backpack straps, sensing the tension. Lucy sniffed, swiping at her cheeks. It's nothing, sweetie," she managed, her voice shaky. She shot me a venomous glare, as if daring me to reveal the divorce in front of the children. I refused to engage, keeping silent. Emma frowned. "Why are all those papers on the floor?" Lucy scrambled, scooping up the documents. "Just some mail that got dropped. Go upstairs and do your homework, okay?" The girls obeyed, glancing over their shoulders anxiously. Once they were out of earshot, Lucy turned on me again. "You blindsided me. You think you're so smart setting me up to be served at home? I won't forget this." I met her gaze, swallowing the swirl of conflicting emotions, anger, sadness, relief. "You forced my hand," I said quietly. "I'm not putting up with your affair anymore." She slammed the envelope on the kitchen table. "Don't assume you've won, Michael. I'll find a way to keep everything, this house, the kids. You'll be the one who ends up humiliated." I shrugged off the threat, but it still rattled me inside. "I've already moved half of our joint savings," I said softly, "and I have custody requests drawn up that cite your neglect." Her face fell for a second, shock rippling through her expression. That told me she hadn't fully grasped how far I'd gone to protect myself. "This is war, then," she whispered bitterly. I let the silence settle, giving her no comfort. She yanked her phone from her pocket, presumably to call David or a lawyer, and stomped upstairs. I heard a door slam. My shoulders slumped, tension flooding out of me in waves. I'd finally taken the biggest step, and though a part of me felt sick, another part felt triumphant. Lucy knew I wasn't bluffing. I walked to the living room where the girls hovered nervously. Emma asked, "Dad, is Mom okay?" I mustered a reassuring look. "She's just upset about work, kiddo. Why don't we order pizza tonight and watch a movie together?" They agreed, though Emma looked unconvinced. Lily brightened at the thought of pizza, her worry melting into excitement. As I scrolled through my phone to place the order, a brief pang of guilt struck me. Our world was changing, and the kids felt it, no matter how hard I tried to keep things normal. But there was no turning back now. The divorce papers were served. Lucy's affair was out in the open, and the lines had been drawn. That evening, Lucy stayed locked in our old bedroom while I set up a cozy living room picnic with the kids. We laughed at the goofy comedy we picked, and for a few hours, I could almost pretend everything was fine. But the undercurrent of tension never fully left. I kept thinking about Lucy's parting words. This is war. A few days after Lucy was served, I found myself parked outside an apartment complex in a seedier part of town, an area known for cheap rent and rundown buildings. My phone buzzed with a text from Margaret, double-checking if I truly wanted to confront David Parker face-to-face. But I needed answers, and I needed them now. Lucy's meltdown at home hadn't stopped her from trying to see him. I wanted to hear from David's own mouth what his intentions were. If Lucy thought she could use him as leverage, I wanted the full picture. The building's front door was propped open with a brick. I walked in, ignoring the stale cigarette smell in the hallway, scanning faded apartment numbers. David's place was 2B. My pulse hammered as I knocked firmly. For a moment, there was silence, then shuffling footsteps and the door cracked open, revealing a lean man with disheveled hair and a suspicious glare. He was wearing sweats like he'd just rolled out of bed. He stiffened when he recognized me. "Michael," he muttered, voice laced with apprehension. How'd you find me?" "Friends in low places," I said dryly, though really it was detective work involving Lucy's phone, GPS logs, and credit card records. "Mind if I come in?" He hesitated, then opened the door a fraction wider, his eyes darting up and down the hallway. "All right, but make it quick." He stood aside, letting me enter a cramped living room that smelled vaguely of stale takeout. A beat-up couch faced a small TV, and boxes were stacked along one wall. It looked like he'd never fully moved in or was about to move out. I stood there, arms folded. "We need to talk about Lucy." David ran a hand through his hair. "Look, I'm not looking for trouble, man. She was the one who pursued me, okay? I never wanted a serious thing." His nervousness was palpable. My anger simmered, but I kept a lid on it. "Yet you kept seeing her. Meeting at hotels, sneaking around behind my back." He shrugged, tossing the TV remote onto the couch. "Yeah, well, I'm not proud of it. But Lucy said her marriage was on the rocks, that you two barely spoke. She wanted fun. I gave it to her. I'm not the one with a ring on my finger." I looked around the cluttered apartment. "Now she's served with divorce papers," I said, letting the weight of those words settle. "And if she thinks you're going to ride off into the sunset together, maybe you should know what she's risking." David grimaced. "She never told me about any divorce filing. Last time we spoke, she was freaking out, saying something big happened. But I didn't realize you'd actually filed." I nodded. "I've got custody in my sights. Lucy's affair is the center of the argument. You're a big part of that, whether you like it or not." He swallowed, stepping backward to lean against the wall. "Look, man, Lucy's fun and all, but I never asked her to leave you. I don't want a live-in girlfriend, definitely not one with kids." The honesty was jarring. "She's been talking crazy about how I might need to help raise Emma and Lily if she loses the house. I told her that's not what I signed up for." His words confirmed my suspicions. Lucy was cornered, looking for David to be a fallback option. I pressed on. "So if Lucy ends up losing custody, you're not ready to take her in?" He let out a mirthless laugh. "Hell no. I've got my own issues. I can barely afford this place. Besides, I don't want that drama. She's never been straight with me about how serious you two still were. It got out of hand." A wave of grim satisfaction hit me. Lucy was on shaky ground, and David wanted nothing to do with her long term. "Then you should tell her that," I said coldly. "Because she's gambling with everything our home, our children thinking you'll back her up." He flinched. "I tried. She's not listening. Keep saying she'll make you see reason." He paused, face blanching. "I don't want any part of your custody battle, okay?" I arched an eyebrow. "You're already part of it. If Lucy claims she can provide a stable environment, the court might look at you as the new partner. They'll want to know if she has a safe place for the kids to live. By the looks of this place, that won't impress the judge." His eyes narrowed, a flicker of resentment crossing his face. "Why are you telling me all this?" "I want you to understand that Lucy's illusions are crashing down," I said evenly. "If she tries to paint me as the bad guy or tries to use you as a safety net, it won't work. So be prepared for her to show up on your doorstep, suitcase in hand." David's expression twisted with discomfort. Look, I never wanted to destroy a family. I was just... He stopped, shaking his head. You know what? Screw it. This is all honor. I'm done. A heavy silence clung to the room. I studied him, this man who'd gleefully shared my wife's bed, and felt a strange pity. He was no mastermind, just a coward who got in over his head. I'll let myself out, I said. But one more thing, if Lucy tries anything, like moving in here or dragging my kids into this mess, I won't stand by quietly. I'll use whatever legal means I have to protect them. He just nodded, face pale. Without another word, I turned and headed for the door. In the hallway, I paused, exhaling the tension coiled in my chest. Michael suggests Lucy might end up on David's doorstep permanently if she doesn't fix her life. Indeed, if Lucy insisted on continuing the affair, she might soon have no other home. My talk with David confirmed he wanted nothing long-term. I hoped Lucy realized that before she fell flat on her face. Outside, the sky was a dull gray, matching my mood. I glanced back at the building, half expecting Lucy to storm out or David to run after me. Neither happened. I slid into my car, started the engine, and let out a slow breath. I could only imagine Lucy's reaction if David told her about my visit. She'd probably call me a manipulative jerk, but we were well past the point of playing nice. She made her moves. I made mine. As I pulled out onto the street, a text from Rachel pinged my phone. I glanced at the notification. Hey, everything okay? Haven't heard from you. I typed back a quick response at the next stoplight. Had a talk with David. He's panicking. I'll explain later. Then I tossed the phone onto the passenger seat, my mind already racing to the next step in my plan. I didn't feel triumphant. The entire situation left a bitter taste in my mouth. But if Lucy was bound to see the consequences of her betrayal, David Parker was just the beginning of her downfall. He'd already cracked under pressure, wanting no responsibility. Part of me felt sorry for the man. Another part of me was relieved Lucy had nowhere to run except through me. She might scramble, try to twist the narrative in court, but I'd keep pressing forward. This confrontation was one more step toward ensuring Emma and Lily's future was secure and ensuring Lucy couldn't keep playing both sides indefinitely. Within a week of serving Lucy, the tension in our household skyrocketed. She alternated between tearful apologies and furious threats, snapping at me over trivial things like the laundry or groceries. Emma and Lily often retreated to their rooms, sensing a storm no child should have to witness. One evening, Emma quietly asked, "Dad, can Lily and I stay with Aunt Becky for a while?" The desperation in her eyes almost broke me. But Becky, my sister, lived across the country, and uprooting the girls wasn't an easy option. I promised Emma I'd protect them, whatever happened. Lucy's parents arrived unexpectedly on a Wednesday afternoon. I was in the living room sorting mail when I heard voices at the front door. Lucy rushed to greet them, but her mother, Susan Reeds, brushed right past, calling out, "Michael, we need to talk to you." Her father, George, followed with a stern expression. They were both in their late 50s, respectable folks who usually carried themselves with calm dignity. Today, however, they looked rattled. Lucy hovered behind them, wringing her hands. "Mom, Dad, I told you we could handle this." Susan cut her off, eyes flashing. "We came because you're obviously not handling it. We got your frantic call about the divorce." She turned to me. "Michael, can we please sit down? We want the truth." I nodded, trying to maintain a polite tone. "Sure, let's talk in the dining room. I'll put some coffee on." Lucy huffed, but followed us in. As I poured coffee, George sat at the table, arms folded across his chest, while Susan perched on a chair with stiff posture. Lucy planted herself next to them, glaring daggers my way. Once we were all seated, Susan said, "Lucy told us you filed for divorce because of some misunderstanding, but the way she sounded on the phone, it seemed more serious than that." She looked from me to Lucy. "What's really going on here?" My stomach knotted. I glanced at Lucy, whose face was a mix of fear and annoyance. "I filed because Lucy's been carrying on an affair," I said quietly. "It's been going on for quite some time. And now she wants an open marriage instead of ending it." George's eyes flickered with shock, turning to Lucy. "Is that true, Lucy?" Lucy's cheeks burned red. I'm not discussing my personal life in front of... She stopped herself, trembling. You're my parents, but you don't know what it's like to be in this marriage. Michael neglects me, and David was just a distraction. Susan's lips pressed into a thin line. Lucy, we raised you better than this. If you were unhappy, you should have sought counseling or something. Not an affair. George chimed in, his voice tight. What about the girls? They must be feeling this. You promised us everything was under control. Lucy threw up her hands. It's complicated, Dad. Michael is making it worse by filing for divorce instead of trying to fix things. I exhaled slowly. I tried for months, maybe years, to fix things. Lucy refused to end her affair. I have evidence of her neglecting the kids while meeting David Parker. I paused, pulling out a binder from the nearby cabinet. There's a timeline of her absences, missed family events, text logs. If you need proof... Enough! Lucy shouted, voice cracking. Stop waving your so-called proof around. Susan gently touched Lucy's arm, her gaze sad but firm. Lucy, you have to face what you've done. Michael wouldn't have these documents if you'd been honest in the first place. George shook his head, looking exhausted. We came here ready to stand by you, Lucy, but this is not what we expected. You should have told us the truth. Lucy's eyes welled with tears, but her anger still glowed beneath. She whipped around to me. So you're just going to show my parents your stupid evidence? Humiliate me? I held her stare. I'm not trying to humiliate you in front of them. They asked what's going on. I have nothing to hide. Silence stretched as Susan and George exchanged troubled glances. Finally, George faced me. What happens now? Is there a court date? I nodded. Yes. My lawyer's pushing for a hearing soon regarding custody and temporary orders. Susan sighed, looking heartbreakingly disappointed. And your plan is to keep the girls with you? Lucy mentioned something about fighting for the house? I rubbed my temple. I want Emma and Lily to stay in their home, with the parent who can give them stability. I believe that's me. Lucy can visit them, but she might have to find another place to live if the court rules that I retain the house. Lucy let out a sarcastic laugh. Sure, just kick me to the curb. That's your big plan. That's the natural consequence of your choices, I said evenly, refusing to rise to her bait. I've built a case showing that you're absent and preoccupied with David. If the judge sees that, it's not my fault. Susan stood, moving to the window, arms wrapped around herself. I can't believe this, she muttered, more to herself than anyone else. You two seem so perfect. A strained moment passed. Lucy's father broke the silence. Lucy, you dragged us into this, so don't blame Michael for explaining. If you truly want to salvage something, you need to think of your daughters first. He paused, eyes narrowing. We're disappointed in you, but we love you. If you need somewhere to stay while sorting this mess out, you can come home with us. But only if you plan on being a responsible mother. Lucy's face flushed, torn between anger and embarrassment. I don't need pity, she mumbled. I just need time to figure everything out. I caught Susan's gaze. She gave me a sad, apologetic look. Michael, we're so sorry this is happening. We had no idea Lucy was risking the family like this. Before I could respond, Lucy pushed her chair back abruptly. I'm done talking, she said, storming from the dining room. Footsteps pounded up the stairs, followed by the slam of a bedroom door. Susan stared after her, then slowly turned to me. We'll talk to her. Try to calm her down. But we might be leaving tomorrow if she won't face facts. She looked heartbroken. We don't condone what she's done. All we want is for our granddaughters to be safe and happy. George nodded. We won't take sides blindly, Michael. We understand you need to do what's best for Emma and Lily. I felt a weight lift off my chest. Having Lucy's parents know the truth and apparently side with me regarding the kids was a massive relief. Thank you, I said softly, meaning every word. Later that evening, Rachel called. Her voice was gentle but concerned. I saw Lucy's parents arriving earlier. How did that go? She asked. I recapped the tense conversation, ending with how George and Susan seemed disappointed in Lucy's choices. Rachel sighed. I'm glad they're aware now. They love those girls. Maybe they'll knock some sense into Lucy. I slumped onto the couch, phone pressed to my ear. I'm not sure anything will knock sense into her at this point, but at least the world is seeing the reality. Rachel hesitated, then offered, "If Emma and Lily need a break, I can take them out for ice cream or something. Just let me know. I hate imagining them trapped in all this tension." My throat tightened. "Thanks, Rachel. That means a lot." After we hung up, I leaned back, thinking about how Lucy's once charmed life was unraveling from every angle. David wanted no part of it. Her parents were horrified at her betrayal. I'd formally served her with divorce papers. The court date was set for next month, and I was readying everything to ensure I wouldn't lose custody. That night, Lucy didn't come down for dinner. She stayed locked in the bedroom. I made chicken tenders for the kids, who ate quietly in front of the TV. Emma asked if Mom was sick. Lily just looked worried. I told them she needed rest, forcing a smile I didn't feel. Watching them so subdued, I felt equal measures of heartbreak and anger. Lucy had forced us all into this swirling chaos, and now she was hiding upstairs, too afraid or ashamed to face the consequences. At least now, with her parents as witnesses, I had allies who understood the reality, and Rachel, too, was in my corner, quietly offering support. The final confrontation was on the horizon, and I felt that swirling mixture of heartbreak and grim determination, prepared to present every piece of evidence before a judge. If Lucy had forced my hand, then I'd play it without mercy. The day of the hearing dawned gray and cool. I woke up before sunrise, my stomach roiling with nerves. In just a few hours, Lucy and I would stand before a judge who would decide who kept custody of Emma and Lily, and whether I would remain in the home we built. I stared at the quiet house around me, every corner filled with memories, some warm, some painful. As I fastened my tie in the hallway mirror, a knot of tension sat in my chest like a lead weight. By the time I arrived at the county courthouse, my palms were slick with sweat. Margaret Collins, my lawyer, waved me over from the lobby's waiting area, her expression businesslike yet reassuring. She wore a crisp navy blazer and carried a battered leather briefcase stuffed with documents. "Ready?" she asked quietly. "Ready as I'll ever be," I murmured. We walked to the assigned courtroom and found Lucy already there with her attorney, a tall woman named Evelyn Carter. Lucy avoided my eyes, fiddling with her phone. She looked tense, her hair pulled back in a tight bun. I could see the faint shadows under her eyes. It seemed neither of us had slept well the night before. We took our seats at separate tables. The judge, a middle-aged man with graying hair, settled into his chair and glanced over our case file. A hush fell over the room. Margaret leaned in toward me. "Remember," she whispered, "stay calm. Let me handle most of the talking. If you must speak, keep it factual." I nodded, trying to quell the pounding in my ears. Then the proceeding began. First, Margaret presented a concise timeline of Lucy's repeated absences and evidence of her ongoing affair: hotel bills, credit card charges, inconsistent alibis. She demonstrated how I had been the stable parent handling the girls' schedules, school communications, medical checkups, and extracurriculars. Evelyn Carter objected to certain pieces of evidence, claiming they were taken out of context. The judge allowed some exhibits but asked for clarifications on others. Still, our core argument that Lucy spent more time with David Parker than with Emma and Lily remained intact. Next came the testimonies. Margaret called me to the stand. I tried to keep my voice steady as I explained my daily routine: waking the children, preparing meals, driving them to school, scheduling doctor visits. Each time Margaret asked a question, I recalled another instance where Lucy had chosen David over the family. It was brutal dredging it up publicly, but I pressed on. I wanted the court to see that my priority had always been our daughters. Evelyn Carter's cross-examination was harsh. She suggested I was an inattentive husband who pushed Lucy away, driving her into David's arms. She insisted Lucy only spent minimal time with David, claiming it was a temporary lapse. My anger flared, but I stuck to the facts. No shouting, no aggression, just stating the records and texts we'd gathered. My composure seemed to unnerve Evelyn, who eventually moved on with a scowl. Lucy took the stand after me. She tried to downplay the affair as just a fling that didn't affect the kids. Her voice trembled when discussing Emma and Lily, insisting she loved them and wanted to be there for them. Yet when Margaret questioned her about specific dates, She missed big events like Emma's science fair or Lily's art show. Lucy stumbled over her excuses. She claimed work obligations or miscommunication, but the judge's expression revealed skepticism. At one point, Lucy broke down in tears, claiming I never showed interest in her, that I emotionally abandoned her. Margaret objected that these statements weren't relevant to custody unless she could prove I was unfit to parent. The judge gently refocused Lucy on the children's welfare. Lucy dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, looking cornered. Outside the stand, I noticed Lucy's parents, George and Susan Reeds, sitting quietly in the back row, watching their daughter's testimony with resigned sadness. They had decided to attend without picking sides, but even from a distance, I could sense their disappointment. Lucy's fling with David had blossomed into a full-scale disaster. After a lunch recess, final arguments rolled out. Margaret hammered home that I provided the stable environment the children needed, while Lucy's own lawyer maintained that Lucy was a loving mother who'd made a temporary mistake. The judge listened, eyes steady, occasionally making notes. When the arguments ended, he rubbed his temples wearily and announced he'd take some time to review evidence before delivering a decision. The courthouse hallway felt suffocating as I waited. Lucy paced by the vending machine, eyes darting to me once or twice. I caught a snippet of her whispered phone call, likely to David or a friend, something about, "I can't lose my kids." I clenched my jaw, remembering how many times she'd chosen her affair over her daughters. This was the fallout she never imagined. Finally, a bailiff opened the doors, summoning us back in. My pulse thundered as the judge read his verdict. He acknowledged Lucy's role as the biological mother, but emphasized how consistent parenting and emotional stability matter above all. Then he stated that, based on the evidence, I was better positioned to be the children's primary custodian. Lucy would have visitation rights, but custody and the marital home would remain with me for the children's sake. Lucy let out a sharp gasp. I heard a muffled sob from her. Evelyn placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. Across the room, Margaret let out a silent exhale and gave me a small nod of relief. The judge finalized the decision, reminding us to act in the children's best interests. The gavel banged down softly, and my life changed forever. I stood there, stunned. I'd won, if you could call it that. What I'd really earned was the right to keep Emma and Lily safe in the only home they'd ever known. Lucy lurched past me, tears streaming, her attorney hurrying behind. I watched them go, a swirl of triumph and heartbreak colliding in my chest. This had never been my dream scenario, but it was the outcome I fought for, to protect the girls from Lucy's reckless choices. Margaret touched my arm gently. "It's done. You should feel proud you put forth a strong case." I nodded, forcing down the lump in my throat. "I just hope Emma and Lily can move forward from this," I replied hoarsely. Together we stepped outside into the overcast afternoon. A breeze ruffled the paperwork Margaret clutched. My phone buzzed with a text from a friend asking how it went. I shoved the device in my pocket, not ready to broadcast the news. It was all too raw. Margaret smiled, though her eyes held sympathy. "They'll be okay, Michael. You've proven you're willing to do whatever it takes for them. In time, they'll understand why." As I walked to my car, I spotted Lucy in the parking lot, leaning against Evelyn's sedan. She was weeping silently, her face in her hands. Part of me wanted to say something, some gesture of understanding or farewell, but I stayed back. We were both battered by this war of our own making. There was no victory celebration, only an uneasy sense that life had permanently changed. The ride home from the courthouse felt eerily quiet. My mind replayed every detail: the judge's decisive tone, Lucy's horrified reaction, the finality of the gavel. When I pulled into my driveway, my heart twisted. This was the same house Lucy and I had purchased together, once believing it was the start of a lifetime. Now I was returning to it alone, newly affirmed as the children's primary guardian. Inside, Emma and Lily were at school, unaware of the day's upheaval. They had no idea that a court had just decided which parent they'd primarily live with. I set my keys on the dining table, noticing the empty seat where Lucy once sat, fiddling with her phone during rushed breakfasts. A sudden wave of sadness crashed over me. I couldn't dwell on it for long, I still had calls to make. Margaret wanted to coordinate with Lucy's attorney about the next steps, like formalizing a visitation schedule. I dialed her office, leaving a brief message, my voice robotic. Hi, it's Michael Anderson calling for Margaret Collins. Just updating on the outcome. Please call me back. The beep ended and I hung up, letting out a shaky sigh. Not 10 minutes later, Lucy barged through the front door. She looked disheveled, mascara smudged beneath her reddened eyes. I stiffened. She'd lost the right to barge in without warning, but it was too soon to enforce boundaries. Lucy, I said, keeping my tone calm. Why are you here? She glared at me. You think you can just strip my life away like that? Tear my kids from me? Her voice cracked on the last words. My chest tightened. They're still your kids, I replied softly. But the court decided what's best for them. You brought this on yourself. She spat out a bitter laugh. Don't lecture me. You've been plotting this for months, gathering evidence, waiting to ambush me. You never cared about my happiness. Her anger radiated in every syllable. I braced myself, recalling Margaret's advice not to argue. I cared enough to try to keep our marriage intact, but you chose David, over and over. Lucy flinched at his name, then scoffed. That's not fair. You pushed me away, shut me out. She stopped mid-sentence, tears brimming again. The judge is actually making me move out? I've got nowhere lined up. Her desperation tugged at my conscience, but I wasn't about to concede. You have options, I said. Your parents offered to help. Or you could ask David. This house is for Emma and Lily now. The judge's orders were clear. She glared at me, resentful. I can't believe this. We built this place together. Her gaze swept the living room, the framed pictures of our daughters on the wall photos we'd taken during better times. Her face twisted in anguish. I never wanted it to end this way. I swallowed a surge of conflicting emotions, anger, pity, regret. It didn't have to. But now the court decided, and we need to do what's right for Emma and Lily. My words sounded distant to my own ears, echoing what I'd repeated so many times to Margaret. Lucy stared at me for a moment, her jaw set. Then she turned on her heel and walked out, leaving the door ajar behind her. A swirl of chilly air swept in, like a physical reminder of the emptiness that now separated us. In the quiet aftermath, I realized I'd been holding my breath. I exhaled shakily, leaning against the dining table. My head throbbed. The emotional weight of this day was more than I ever imagined. Later, the girls came home from school. I greeted them with forced cheer, helping them unpack backpacks and fix an afternoon snack. Emma glanced around. Where's Mom? She asked, noticing her absence more acutely than usual. I swallowed. She had to go out for a while, I said gently. We need to talk about some changes soon, okay? But you don't have to worry. I'm here. Emma studied my face with an intensity no 9-year-old should have. Lily, younger and more buoyant, grabbed a juice box, oblivious to the tension. Emma, though, looked at me like she was deciphering a secret code. Dad, are you okay? She asked softly. A lump formed in my throat. I'm all right, I managed. Just a tough day. She nodded, then silently reached up and hugged me. I wrapped my arms around her, my eyes burning. Lily joined in, though she didn't know exactly why. We stood there in the kitchen, the three of us in a tight embrace. In that moment, I swore to myself I wouldn't let Lucy's choices derail our lives any further. I'd shield the girls from as much pain as possible. That evening, the phone rang. When I picked up, it was George Reed's Lucy's father. His voice was grim. I heard about the court's decision, Michael. Susan and I are well. We're trying to reach Lucy. She's not answering. I rubbed my eyes. She came here earlier, upset, said she has nowhere to go. George exhaled over the line. She can come here if she wants, but she's refusing. We're worried. Look, I'm not asking you to fix this. Lord knows you've done your part. I just wanted you to know we'll keep trying to reason with her. My chest felt tight. Thanks, George. Let me know if you hear from her. He paused. We don't agree with what she did, but we still love her. Please take care of yourself and the girls. His voice cracked at the end before he hung up. When I set the phone down, a wave of exhaustion swept over me. The emotional collateral of Lucy's decisions was rippling outward. Her parents were distraught. The kids were anxious. And even I felt a weird hollowness. It was as if I'd spent so long strategizing for this day, I hadn't fully reckoned with how it would feel once it arrived. I tried to lighten the mood by playing a board game with Emma and Lily after dinner. They giggled at my silly voices for each token on the board, but behind their laughter, a tension lingered. They knew something was wrong, something bigger than the usual "mom's busy" excuse. Right before bedtime, Emma looked at me with wide eyes. "Dad, Mom's gonna come back soon, right?" Lily watched me too, her little face worried. I chose my words carefully. "Mom needs some time away. She might come visit or talk to you soon, but she won't be staying here every day like before." My stomach clenched as I admitted it out loud. "But don't worry. I'll make sure you see her. It'll just be different." Emma nodded slowly, tears pooling in her eyes. Lily, confused, wrapped her arms around her stuffed animal. My heart broke for them. Lucy's meltdown at the courthouse, her repeated poor decisions, those choices slammed right into our daughter's stability. And all I could do was pick up the pieces. I tucked them in, stroking their hair softly, whispering that I loved them. Once they were asleep, I sat in the hallway for a long time, listening to the quiet hum of the house. The finality of the judge's decision hung in the air. We had a long road ahead, sorting out details of Lucy's move, establishing visitation times, finalizing paperwork. The emotional fallout was massive, but at least we had some certainty. The children would remain in their home with me. I wished I could feel triumphant. Instead, a hollow ache pulsed beneath my ribs. I'd fought so hard to protect our daughters, and I'd succeeded, yet this victory tasted bitter, tainted by heartbreak. Lucy had lost her family because she'd refused to give up an affair that was never worth the price she paid. Quietly, I resolved to stand firm for Emma and Lily's sake. They deserved a stable life, and if Lucy ever decided to truly prioritize them over her own reckless impulses, maybe we could reach some peaceful co-parenting arrangement. For now, though, the war was effectively over, leaving an uneasy silence in its wake. Over the next few weeks, Lucy tried to regain her footing in a whirl of desperate attempts and half-baked apologies. She called me at odd hours, pleading for a second chance. She even showed up at the house one Sunday afternoon while Emma and Lily were in the backyard, offering tearful confessions about how she'd end things with David for good if I'd just stopped the divorce. But we'd already crossed that line. There was no turning back. Margaret Collins worked on ironing out the final divorce settlement details with Lucy's lawyer, Evelyn Carter. The main points were already decided by the judge primary custody to me, visitation schedules for Lucy, and the house would remain under my name for the children's sake. Now we only had to hash out the financial splits, child support, and timelines. My patience wore thin every time Lucy balked at a clause, acting stunned that she wouldn't walk away with half the equity in our home. We met in Margaret's conference room to finalize negotiations. Lucy and Evelyn arrived late, tension clinging to them like a cloud. Lucy's hair was pulled into a messy ponytail, and she looked exhausted. She offered me a weak half-smile of greeting, which I didn't return. I couldn't forget her repeated lies, her months of betrayal. The negotiations started politely enough. Margaret read through the drafted agreement, detailing that Lucy would need to move out within 2 weeks. She'd get visitation every other weekend and Wednesday evenings to see Emma and Lily. Financially, we agreed Lucy would pay a modest child support given she had a decent income, and I'd keep the house mortgage in my name. My lawyer emphasized how fair this was, considering Lucy's role in jeopardizing the family. Lucy bristled at the child support figure. "I can't believe you expect me to pay that every month," she snapped. "How am I supposed to afford rent and expenses?" Evelyn touched her arm in caution, whispering that the amount was actually quite low compared to standard guidelines. Lucy's frustration flared, but she tried to mask it. "Fine," she muttered. "I guess I have no choice." Margaret cleared her throat. "Next point. Lucy's personal belongings. She can take any furniture that doesn't disrupt the children's rooms. Michael's agreed to cover new bunk beds if needed." Lucy's eyes flicked to me. "You'll pay for bunk beds but not help me with a deposit on a new place?" I met her gaze coldly. "You've got your own money, Lucy. I'm just ensuring the kids have what they need when they visit you." Her face twisted in hurt or anger, maybe both. She nodded stiffly. Whatever. The tension in the room was stifling, punctuated only by Margaret tapping her pen against the table. Finally, we reached the end of the settlement draft. Evelyn and Margaret exchanged glances, then placed copies in front of me and Lucy to review. This was it, the document that severed our marriage. Lucy's eyes misted as she read, her breath catching once or twice. I forced myself to stay detached. Every line reminded me of her careless choices. At last, Lucy spoke up in a small voice. "Is there really no other way, Michael?" Her tone carried a quiet desperation. "I'll leave David behind. I'll go to counseling. I'll do anything." My stomach nodded. In another lifetime, her plea might have cracked my defenses, but now it felt too late. "I asked you for that months ago," I said evenly. "You refused. We're already here. The judge decided custody. The papers are ready. I'm not changing course." She closed her eyes, exhaling a shaky breath. "I see." With trembling hands, she reached for a pen. Evelyn gave her an encouraging nod. Lucy signed each page, tears occasionally dripping onto the paper. Then she slid the stack to me. My heart pounded as I penned my name alongside hers, finalizing the end of our marriage. It was surreal. A few strokes of ink, and we were no longer husband and wife. Margaret and Evelyn gathered the documents. Evelyn looked at Lucy with genuine sympathy. Margaret gave me a quick nod, silently acknowledging we'd followed our plan. Then we all stood. Lucy's tears had slowed, replaced by an eerie resignation. She clutched her purse, avoiding my eyes, and followed Evelyn out. Margaret and I lingered a moment, letting them go. When they were gone, I dropped into a chair, feeling like the air had been sucked from my lungs. Margaret patted my shoulder. "You did what you had to do for Emma and Lily," she said quietly. "You'll receive the official decree soon. But as far as we're concerned, it's settled." I thanked her, my throat tight. We shook hands, and then I was alone in the conference room. A free man in the legal sense. Yet I didn't feel free, just drained. My phone buzzed with a message from a coworker asking about a project. It felt trivial compared to the emotional war I'd just waged. I shoved the phone in my pocket, leaving the building. 2 days later, Lucy returned to pack her belongings. I stayed out of her way, busying myself with chores and making sure the girls were at a friend's house for a playdate. I didn't want them to witness Lucy in tears, hauling boxes from room to room. At one point, Lucy found me in the living room gripping a framed photo of our wedding day. She held it out. "Can I take this?" she asked in a hollow voice. My chest tightened. That photo captured us beaming with promise, Lucy in a flowing ivory gown, me in a rented tux that felt too big. We had our whole future mapped out, so we thought. "Sure," I said softly, unable to meet her eyes. "It's yours." She sniffled, gently setting it into a box labeled kitchenware, as if she couldn't bear to look at it any longer. After a few more hours of tense packing, she loaded the last box into her car, glancing around with a haunted expression. "Bye," she mumbled, her voice hoarse. Then she drove off, leaving me in the eerily silent house. That evening, I told Emma and Lily their mom had moved out. Emma's lip trembled, tears spilling over as she asked if Lucy was gone forever. Lily burst into sobs, hugging me tight. I reassured them Lucy would still see them, that we'd figure out a schedule so they wouldn't lose their mother completely. But I couldn't stop their heartbreak. In those moments, it struck me how Lucy's betrayal had rippled through our daughters' lives like a destructive wave. In the gloom of that night, I roamed the house aimlessly, noticing the spots Lucy's absence left behind her side of the closet, the empty bathroom cabinet, the missing throw pillows she'd once picked out. Every nook felt haunted. Still, I knew we had to keep moving forward. The settlement was final. She was out, and I had custody. This was the logical conclusion to everything I'd set in motion. The next morning, I spotted a small slip of paper on the kitchen counter, likely left behind by Lucy. It read in shaky handwriting, "I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you or the kids. Please let them know I love them, Lucy." My anger flared, but it was mixed with a deep well of sadness. Part of me wished she could have apologized before it all imploded. Another part whispered that it wouldn't have mattered. I put the note in a drawer, uncertain if I'd ever show it to the kids. They deserved an apology in person, not a hastily scrawled message. For now, I had to focus on rebuilding normalcy for Emma and Lily. The settlement might have ended our marriage, but the emotional fallout wasn't something that vanished overnight. Life settled into a strange, quiet rhythm after Lucy's departure. The house echoed with emptiness at first, but the routines I'd established for Emma and Lily remained the same: school drop-offs, bedtime stories, weekend outings. I'd wake up each morning to an alarm instead of Lucy rustling about. The emptiness was jarring, yet a part of me felt relieved that the tension was finally gone. Within a week, Lucy started texting me about visitation. The judge's order specified every other weekend plus one weeknight. She chose Wednesday evenings, presumably because that worked best with her new work schedule. Whenever she arrived to pick up the kids, she lingered uneasily at the doorstep, as though waiting for permission to enter. I'd let Emma and Lily gather their coats and backpacks, then watch from the door as Lucy drove them away. She'd give me a quick nod or stammer a hollow thanks. We never spoke beyond that. At first, the girls returned from visits with anxious looks. Emma said Lucy stayed in a small apartment that smelled funny, and Lily complained about the lumpy couch where she watched cartoons. I tried not to interrogate them, but it was obvious Lucy's new living situation lacked the comfort they were used to. Lily mentioned Mom's friend David only once, saying he dropped by briefly before leaving in a hurry. My jaw tightened. Apparently Lucy hadn't fully ended things with him. I kept my thoughts to myself, not wanting to burden the kids. One Thursday evening, after the girls came home, Lily seemed more subdued than usual. I asked if she was okay, and she shrugged. Emma pulled me aside in the hallway, whispering, "Mom and David argued while we were there. Lily got scared." My pulse spiked in anger, but I forced a calm nod. "I'll talk to your mother," I said softly, patting Emma's shoulder. The last thing I wanted was for them to witness more conflict. The next day I texted Lucy, "Heard you and David argued in front of the kids. Don't let that happen again." She read it. My phone showed a scene confirmation, but never replied. By Sunday, she sent a brief apology, claiming it was a one-time misunderstanding. I didn't respond. No matter how sorry she professed to be, she was still subjecting our children to unnecessary drama. Amid these rocky transitions, Rachel quietly stepped into the role of a supportive friend. She checked in every few days, offering to swing by with groceries or come along on a weekend trip to the local park so the kids could run around. Initially, Emma was hesitant. Rachel was Lucy's friend, after all, but over time, both girls warmed to her gentle presence. One Saturday, she helped Lily practice riding a bike without training wheels, jogging beside her in the cul-de-sac. Lily's laughter filled the air. I stood on the sidewalk feeling a complicated mix of gratitude and guilt. I tried not to think too far ahead. Rachel's steady friendship was enough for now. At night, I sometimes wrestled with lingering resentment. I'd replay Lucy's affair in my head, reliving the sting of betrayal. But I also recognized an odd emptiness, like part of me missed having a partner in the home even if that partner had been unfaithful. It was a lonely feeling, but whenever I thought about letting Lucy back in, I remembered how she shattered my trust. That memory was enough to keep me resolute. Weeks turned into a couple of months. Lucy's pattern of sporadic contact with the girls continued. She stuck to her visitation schedule most of the time, though occasionally she canceled last minute, claiming work emergencies or personal conflicts. Each time, I documented the missed visits, not because I planned to punish her further, but because I wanted to keep track in case anything escalated legally. Emma took her mother's flakiness to heart, becoming more reserved. Lily expressed her confusion openly. "Dad, why doesn't Mom want to see us?" I did my best to reassure her that it wasn't about them, but even my calm words couldn't disguise Lucy's increasingly absent role. Meanwhile, the house felt brighter despite the hollow spots where Lucy's belongings once were. The girls and I rearranged furniture, painting Lily's bedroom walls a pale lavender, a color she'd been begging for. Emma wanted a desk in her room to practice drawing. I set it up near the window so she could have natural light. These small home improvements breathed a sense of renewal into the space. One evening, I stood in the kitchen flipping through mail. A letter from a debt collector addressed to Lucy caught my eye. I debated whether to toss it or forward it to her. In the end, I snapped a photo and texted Lucy, "You have mail. Should I drop it off at your place?" She replied an hour later with an uncharacteristic, "Yes, please, thanks." That simple exchange showed how distant we'd become, just two strangers co-managing a crisis that was once a marriage. On a rare phone call, Lucy asked if she could take Emma and Lily for an extended weekend to visit her parents. "They're worried about me," she admitted. "And about the kids." I hesitated. I didn't want the girls thrown into an emotional tug-of-war if Lucy was going there to lament her circumstances. But I also knew George and Susan Reeds genuinely loved Emma and Lily. Reluctantly, I agreed, making Lucy promise to have them back by Sunday evening. She sounded relieved, thanking me in a subdued tone. While the girls were away, the silence in the house felt massive. I wandered from room to room, unable to shake the sense of grief that trailed me like a shadow. This was the aftermath I'd fought for, a stable home for the kids, but at the cost of losing the life I once believed we shared. The war with Lucy was over in the legal sense, but I wondered if the emotional scars would ever fully fade. The pain of betrayal, the guilt of seeing my daughters upset, the echoes of Lucy's presence in the corridors, all of it lingered like a half-healed wound. On Sunday night, Lucy dropped the kids off as promised. Emma had that guarded look again, while Lily clung to my waist, saying, "I missed you, Dad," as if she'd been away for a month. Lucy hovered on the porch. "Thanks for letting them come," she mumbled, eyes downcast. I nodded stiffly, not inviting her in. We stood there in an uncomfortable silence until she murmured, "Good night," and headed for her car. Emma and Lily trudged inside, tired but happy to be home. As we settled on the couch for a quick snack before bed, Lily said, "Mom was sad. She and Grandma argued, I think." Emma, always more perceptive, offered no comment. I just gave them both hugs, telling them I was proud of them for being patient and kind, reminding them it was bedtime. When I tucked them in, I felt a flicker of gratitude that we'd weathered this storm. We had a long way to go, but at least we had some measure of peace. Later, I made myself tea and sipped it in the dark living room, reflecting on everything that led us here. The final step of my revenge, if I could call it that, was basically complete. Lucy had lost the marriage, the home, much of the custody, and her illusions of an easy escape with David. And yet I felt no triumph, just relief that Emma and Lily were safe under my roof. In that moment, I realized the emptiness left behind by Lucy's departure was also an open space for something new. Whether that meant a calmer family life or a chance for me to slowly heal, I wasn't sure. But the war had ended. I had to believe that, given time, we'd rebuild something better, free from the lies and betrayal that had nearly destroyed us. For now, though, I focused on the simple comfort of the house at night, the steady warmth of my daughters asleep upstairs, and the quiet knowledge that this chapter of turmoil was truly behind us. It's been a few weeks since Lucy moved out for good, and the house feels like it's finally exhaling. Emma and Lily still notice the silence, especially at night, when Lucy's old bedroom stays dark, but day by day, we're finding a new rhythm. I get up early, make breakfast, and drive them to school. After work, I help them with homework, then we settle in for a movie or board game. It's a routine that keeps us anchored. Still, I can't pretend I'm not carrying baggage. Some nights I stare at the living room walls and replay the chaos Lucy caused. The betrayals, the legal battle, her desperate attempts to patch things when it was already too late. I hate that I still feel echoes of anger even though I won in court. The bitterness clings to me like a shadow. There's a difference between forcing an end to a toxic marriage and actually moving on. One Saturday morning, Emma and Lily bounced downstairs with unusual excitement. Lily waves a flyer for a local kids' fair face painting, music, and rides. She begs me to take them. Normally, Lucy might have accompanied us on something like this, but the thought flickers by and I push it aside. "Sure," I say, mustering a smile. "We'll go. Let's head out around noon. I'll finish my chores first." Lily whoops, and Emma grins, though I see a bit of apprehension in her eyes. She's still on guard, waiting for plans to unravel the way Lucy's visits often do, but I'm determined to give them normalcy. After we wrap up errands, we pile into the car and drive to the fair, the late morning sun giving the day a hopeful glow. I'm amazed at how lively the fair is, colorful booths selling cotton candy and popcorn, a small stage with a local band playing pop songs, and clusters of kids running around, faces smeared with bright paint. Emma and Lily drag me to the booth advertising dragon designs, so they both end up with elaborate swirls around their eyes and cheeks. I can't help but laugh at their excitement. We wander around, sampling kettle corn and fresh lemonade. For a while, I actually forget the weight of the past few months. The girls look happy and carefree, squealing when I tease them about entering a pie-eating contest. My shoulders relax in a way they haven't in a long time. Mid-afternoon, my phone buzzes, a text from Lucy, asking if she can take the girls tomorrow evening. I glance at Emma and Lily, who are happily devouring funnel cakes. The old bitterness rises. Where was Lucy when we needed stability? But I force myself to be calm. I text back, ask them directly. If they agree, fine. Let me know the plan. I won't be the gatekeeper who stands between my kids and their mother, but I refuse to chase Lucy down or rearrange my life last minute. As we're leaving the fair, Lily tugs my arm. "Dad, can we do this again sometime?" she asks, cotton candy crystals stuck to her fingers. "Of course," I tell her, ruffling her hair. Emma smirks, but I see gratitude in her eyes, too. That evening, after we're home and the kids are in bed, I check my phone again. Lucy hasn't responded. Typical. Tension coils in my chest. I flip on the TV for background noise but can't focus. My thoughts churn. Was I too harsh in my reply? Am I being petty? The rational part of me says Lucy made her bed. Another part, the fatherly part, worries about the girls' disappointment if Lucy forgets or cancels again. Eventually, I drift to the kitchen to brew some tea, hoping it'll calm me. That's when I notice a note pinned to the fridge, Emma's scribbled list of family rules, something we wrote together weeks ago. Honesty, kindness, and fun. The simplest words. But they remind me why I'm doing all this. I want to keep that environment intact for my daughters. No more lies, no more tension. Just a stable foundation. A few days later, Rachel Morgan calls. Lucy's longtime friend turned well. I'm not exactly sure what we are. Allies? Friends? We first connected at that lakeside campsite months ago, back when Lucy and I were on the brink. Rachel proved surprisingly supportive, even after her friendship with Lucy became awkward. Now she's checking in. "Hey, Michael," she says, her warm voice crackling over the line. "Just thought I'd see how you and the girls are holding up." She pauses. I heard Lucy's in a rough spot, but I didn't want to pry. For a moment, I hesitate. Rachel has known Lucy for years. This used to be a conflict of interest. But she's been so steady, such a good listener. "We're managing," I say quietly. "Kids are adjusting. I'm fine mostly." She picks up on my reluctance. "If you ever need an ear, I'm here. I know it's complicated." I find myself wishing I could tell her everything that nights still feel hollow, that I'm exhausted from being a single parent, that I still rage internally whenever Lucy randomly texts about visits. But something stops me. Maybe it's the leftover guilt that Rachel was Lucy's best friend. "I appreciate it," I murmur. "Maybe we can all hang out sometime, if you're comfortable with that." "The girls would love Buddy again." I'm referring to her golden retriever who charmed the kids at the campground. She chuckles. "He'd love to see them. Let's plan something soon." After hanging up, I realize my heart's beating faster. Strange how a simple conversation with Rachel can do that. I push the thought aside, focusing on the everyday tasks that keep me sane, organizing the kids' lunches, planning a grocery run. My life is stable, yes, but there's a flicker of uncertainty. I'm not sure how to move forward from the betrayal, the heartbreak, the sense of betrayal's residue in every corner of the house. One evening, I overhear Emma telling Lily, "Dad smiles more now." That small comment stirs something in me. Maybe I am healing. Maybe the kids see my efforts, but I still have work to do on myself. The sting of Lucy's affair hasn't magically disappeared just because the court ruled in my favor. A few nights later, as I tuck in Emma, she asks softly, "Dad, do you miss Mom?" The question drops like a stone in my chest. I glance at Lily, who's half asleep in her bed, then back at Emma. "Sometimes," I admit, choosing honesty. "But I think we're better off not living with that tension." Emma nods, tears glimmering. "I miss the old family sometimes," she confesses, voice wobbling. My throat tightens. "I know, sweetie," I say, stroking her hair. "We can't change the past, but we can make good memories now." She sniffs and leans into my hand. I feel that protective urgency surge again. I want to keep them safe from more hurt, even if it means wrestling with my own emotions for a while longer. Before I head to bed, I glance at a picture on the mantel, just me, Emma, and Lily at the fair from a few days ago. Their faces are beaming, unguarded. It reminds me that hope still exists in our world. The house is quieter, but not empty. My resentment toward Lucy remains, yet day by day I sense it loosening its grip. There's a new life forming in the cracks left behind by her betrayal. I don't fully understand where this new path leads, but for the first time in a long while, I'm not drowning in dread. Maybe that's what healing looks like, a cautious step forward, uncertain but determined, with the people who truly matter by my side. On a crisp Saturday morning, I wake up to find Emma and Lily sprawled on the living room floor, coloring pictures of animals in the wild. They jump to their feet when they see me. "Dad, remember?" Lily exclaims, eyes shining. "We're meeting Rachel at the state park today." I blink, momentarily disoriented. Then it hits me I'd arranged a small weekend trip with the kids at a nearby state park. Rachel offered to bring her golden retriever, Buddy, so the girls could play around the picnic area. Ever since that day at the campground months ago, they've pestered me to meet him again. We'd chatted on the phone and decided a day trip might be fun. At the time, I tried not to overthink it. Rachel insisted it was just a casual outing. Yet I can't shake the flutter of nerves. I recall Lucy's betrayal, how it destroyed my trust in relationships. But this is different, I tell myself. Rachel's always been the calm voice urging Lucy to do the right thing, and she's proven she cares about my daughters in a genuine way. Still, is it weird to hang out with Lucy's old friend? The drive to the park takes about an hour, with Emma and Lily chattering excitedly in the back seat. I keep glancing at the clock, mind racing. I shouldn't feel guilty Lucy is out of the picture, legally and emotionally. Rachel has every right to see the kids, especially if they enjoy her company. My heart pounds anyway. We pull into a parking lot lined with tall pines. Rachel's car is already there. She's unloading a cooler and a small backpack while Buddy sniffs around happily. The girls squeal, running toward them the moment I switch off the ignition. Rachel looks up, smiling warmly, and greets Emma and Lily by name, giving them gentle side hugs. She doesn't rush to greet me. There's a subtle caution in her eyes, like we're both still navigating unknown territory. "Glad you made it," Rachel says, patting Buddy's head. "I found a nice picnic spot near the lake. We can walk a short trail first." The kids dash ahead with Buddy, who barks excitedly. Rachel and I fall into step side by side. The forest air is cool, smelling of pine needles and damp soil. Soft sunlight filters through the branches. For a few minutes, we talk about little things. How work's been for her. How the kids are adjusting to the new custody schedule. It's easy, surprisingly so, and I feel tension easing from my shoulders. Halfway through the trail, Lily giggles as Buddy tries to chase a squirrel. Emma gives a mock scolding. "Buddy, that's not polite." Rachel and I share a grin. It feels like a normal family outing, except we're not a family in the traditional sense. A tangle of emotions wells up. Maybe we never will be. Maybe I'm reading too much into this. But there's a spark of warmth I haven't felt in ages. We reach the picnic area, a shaded patch of grass dotted with wooden tables. Rachel opens the cooler, revealing sandwiches, fruit, and bottled water. I rummage through my backpack, producing chips and cookies. Together, we set up lunch. There's something about the simple act of sharing a meal in nature that brings a sense of closeness. While the girls chase Buddy around nearby trees, Rachel looks at me, her voice gentle. "How are you really doing, Michael? I know everything's been chaotic." I hesitate, feeling that flicker of vulnerability. In the past, I'd shrug off the question, claim I'm fine. But something in her expression invites honesty. It's a mix, I admit. Relief that Lucy's out of the house, guilt because the kids still miss her, and anger that I'm even in this position. I exhale. But I'm coping. She nods sympathetically. Coping isn't easy. I've seen Lucy spiral. She's not the same person I grew up with. My chest tightens at the mention of Lucy. I'm not sure I ever really knew her, I say quietly. Then catching myself, I add, "Sorry, I don't mean to dump all this on you." Rachel shakes her head. "That's what friends are for. And," she trails off, glancing at the kids, "you've done a good job protecting them. I can see how happy they are today." Her words soothe me like a gentle balm. We let the conversation drift, focusing on the girls. Lily returns to show Rachel a treasure. She found a rock with glittery flecks. Emma plops down next to me, rummaging for chips, and Buddy flops onto the grass, panting. It all feels strangely normal. After lunch, we explore a small path leading to the lake's edge. The kids skip rocks over the water while Buddy scampers around their feet. Rachel stands beside me on a wooden dock, arms folded over the railing. For a moment, neither of us speaks. The water ripples with the mild breeze, sunlight dancing on the surface. It's the kind of moment that makes you feel like time has slowed. I sense her eyes on me. When I look over, there's a softness in her gaze that catches me off guard. Suddenly, the air between us feels charged, like a silent question hovers. My heart thuds. I recall the day Lucy confronted me about an open marriage, how cheap and manipulative that felt. This is different, unhurried, but it's still complicated. Rachel is Lucy's best friend, or was. Is it wrong to feel drawn to her? The kids break the moment, running up to us with Buddy bounding in front. Emma giggles. "We found a frog! It jumped right over Lily's shoe!" We laugh with them, that subtle tension slipping back into the background. Soon, we gather our things and head toward the parking lot, the day winding down. Before we part ways, Rachel thanks me for inviting her. "It was nice just being outside with you all," she says, voice soft. "Feels like life isn't so complicated out here." I nod. "I know what you mean." For a split second, the urge to hug her surges, but I hold back, uncertain if it's too soon. Instead, we smile awkwardly and she ruffles Buddy's ears. The girls wave goodbye, and we load back into our separate cars. On the drive home, Emma dozes off, her head leaning against Lily's shoulder. My mind replays that brief moment on the dock with Rachel, how our eyes met in the hushed sunlight. It wasn't explosive, but there was a spark, like the beginning of something unspoken. Maybe I'm imagining it, or maybe there's a path forward that doesn't revolve around pain and betrayal, but a flicker of guilt gnaws at me. Lucy might flip out if she found out about Rachel and me spending time together. I push the thought away for now. I'll focus on the kids, on giving them a sense of security. If there's something more between Rachel and me, I'll deal with it cautiously. The day was about the kids and about healing. Let it stay simple. Still, I can't deny the faint warmth lodged behind my ribs, a spark of romance I haven't felt in a very long time. The following week passes quietly until Lucy shows up unannounced on a Wednesday evening. It's nearly dinner time, and I'm in the kitchen assembling grilled cheese sandwiches for Emma and Lily. They're in the living room, bickering over which show to watch. Suddenly, the doorbell rings in a sharp staccato. I open it to find Lucy, arms crossed, gaze flicking over my shoulder as if searching for something or someone. Her hair is disheveled, her eyes puffy. She doesn't offer a greeting. "Where are they?" she demands, voice tense. I swallow my irritation. "In the living room. You want to come in?" Usually, I'd ask for a heads-up before she visits, but I don't want to start a scene with the kids overhearing. She shoulders past me, stepping into the hallway. "What's that smell?" She sniffs. "Oh, grilled cheese. Real gourmet parenting, Michael." Her sneer is immediate. I bristle. "They like grilled cheese," I say evenly. "And you didn't give me any warning you'd be here. This is their dinner time." Lucy waves a hand dismissively. "I'm here for my Wednesday visit. I texted, remember?" I frown. I'd seen no text, but I don't want to argue in front of the kids. "Fine," I mutter. "They're in the living room." I lead her there, biting back a retort. Emma and Lily look up, startled. "Mom?" Emma says, eyes darting from Lucy to me. Lily stands, clutching a blanket to her chest. "Are you staying for dinner?" Lucy forces a bright smile that doesn't reach her eyes. "Sure, sweetie. Why not?" She shoots me a glare, like she's daring me to object. I shrug, returning to the kitchen to keep the peace. Lucy's presence winds me up like a spring, but I don't want to fight. I plate the sandwiches, add some carrot sticks, and bring them to the table. Lucy sits down stiffly with the girls, peppering them with questions about their day, but her gaze keeps flicking to the empty hallway. Midway through the meal, the doorbell rings again, Rachel. She'd texted me earlier about dropping off a small gift for Lily's upcoming class project, some art supplies and stickers. My stomach clenches. The timing couldn't be worse. I cast a quick glance at Lucy, who's already narrowing her eyes. She obviously has no idea Rachel's coming over, and Rachel has no idea Lucy is here. I step away from the dining room, opening the door with forced calm. Rachel stands outside, holding a paper bag, Buddy at her side. She greets me with a warm smile that fades the instant she sees my expression. "Michael? Everything okay?" "Lucy's here," I whisper, voice low. "It's not the best time." Rachel's eyes widen. "Oh, I'm sorry. I'll just hand you this." Before she can finish, Lucy storms into the hallway, arms crossed. "Well, well," she says, voice dripping with sarcasm. "I thought I smelled something fishy. Lucy's best friend, right?" Rachel glances at me, then lifts her chin. "Hello, Lucy. I'm just dropping off some art supplies for Lily. Didn't mean to intrude." Lucy scoffs. "Intrude? Seems like you're here all the time these days. A little convenient, don't you think?" She steps closer, ignoring my attempts to stay between them. "You show up right at dinner time. Waltz around my house." "My house," I correct quietly, though it only makes Lucy bristle more. Rachel's eyes harden. "I'm not here to argue. The kids wanted these supplies, so—" Lucy snatches the paper bag from Rachel's hands. "Sure, playing the hero, you were supposed to be my friend, but clearly you've chosen sides." Buddy whines, sensing the hostility. I place a calming hand on the dog's head, trying to diffuse the situation. "Lucy, we can talk later if you have an issue. Right now, the girls need a peaceful evening." She turns on me, fury in her eyes. "Peaceful? With her hovering around my children? I'll bet you're letting her play mom now, huh?" My temper flares. "That's enough," I say, keeping my voice as steady as I can. "Rachel's just being helpful. You're the one who dropped in unannounced." Lucy hurls a bitter laugh. "Don't pretend you're innocent. I see what's going on. You found a replacement for me, my own best friend? Could you be any more despicable?" Her tone slices through the air. I glance back at the dining room, worried Emma and Lily might hear. "Keep your voice down," I hiss. "This isn't about you or Rachel. It's about the kids having decent people around them, that's all." Lucy's cheeks flush red. For a second, she looks genuinely hurt. Then she stiffens, turning to Rachel with a glare. "You think you can handle parenting my daughters better than me?" Her voice breaks. "You're a traitor." Rachel exhales, looking pained. "I never said that. But if you cared about them, you wouldn't show up just to create drama. Why don't you calm down before they get upset?" Lucy's response is a trembling scoff. "Don't tell me how to deal with my own kids." She whips around to me, jabbing a finger in the air. "If you keep letting strangers get close to them, I'll have to reevaluate our custody deal. Understand?" That last line tears it. I sense my anger rising, but I keep it harnessed. "Lucy, you threaten me again, and I'll document every missed visit, every meltdown, and you'll have a hard time explaining that to a judge." My voice shakes with barely contained fury. "Don't push me." For a moment, Lucy looks like she might explode. Then she backs down, chest heaving. "Fine," she mutters, pointing at me. "But this isn't over. I won't let you shut me out with your new friend." She glances at Rachel again, eyes full of anger and betrayal, then storms into the dining room. I hear her clumsy attempt at cheerful conversation with Emma and Lily, who've gone uncharacteristically quiet. Rachel stands by the open door, face etched with worry. "I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't have come." I shake my head. "You did nothing wrong." I reach for the bag Lucy snatched and left on the side table. "I appreciate the supplies. Lily will love them. Just maybe text me next time to ensure Lucy isn't around." Rachel nods, her eyes flicking to the hallway. "Will you be okay?" I exhale shakily. "Yeah, I'll manage. Thanks for caring." She gives a small, sad smile, then glances at Buddy. "Come on, boy." They retreat into the night, leaving me with a roiling pit in my stomach. I close the door, forcing myself to face Lucy's presence for however long she decides to stay. When Lucy finally leaves an hour later, the kids are subdued, as if sensing the tension. Emma asks, "Why was Mom yelling at Rachel?" Lily looks on the verge of tears. My heart aches for them. "It's grown-up stuff," I say softly, guiding them to the couch. "I'm sorry you had to hear that. Mom's upset, but it's not your fault." Lily sniffles, pressing her face against my shoulder. Emma's eyes are full of confusion. I stroke their hair, wishing I could shield them from every ugly confrontation. Lucy's outburst was about jealousy, fear of losing control. I understand that, but I can't let her bulldoze our peace. We sit there quietly until bedtime, the house feeling heavy with unspoken sorrow. That night I toss in bed, replaying Lucy's accusations, her threats to revisit custody. My protective instincts rage, wanting to keep the girls safe from drama. My mind keeps drifting to Rachel's pained expression. She doesn't deserve Lucy's wrath. Then a creeping worry. Maybe it is crossing a line to grow close to Lucy's old friend. But I also can't ignore how genuinely kind Rachel has been, how the kids love her presence. Eventually, exhaustion drags me under. As I drift off, Lucy's words echo in my head. This isn't over. A chill runs down my spine. Our legal war is done, but apparently Lucy's jealousy remains. I can only hope she doesn't weaponize it against the one semblance of normalcy my kids and I are building. Because if she does, I'll have no choice but to fight back again. 3 days pass without a single text from Lucy. I keep a wary eye on my phone, half expecting her to send another angry rant or a threat about custody. But there's radio silence. In her absence, the house regains its fragile calm. I focus on work, the girls' school schedules, and the routine we've built. Bit by bit, we mend. Then, on a Friday afternoon, I receive an unexpected call from George Reeds, Lucy's father. "Michael," he says in a tense voice, "Susan and I had a serious talk with Lucy yesterday. She came to us in tears about you and, well, about Rachel. We told her to stop stirring drama. Enough is enough." I pinch the bridge of my nose. "Thank you," I murmur. "I never wanted to make this a bigger mess." George sighs. "We know. But Lucy's been erratic, blaming everyone but herself. We told her it's time she accepts the consequences of her choices. If she keeps pushing you and the kids away, she'll regret it." He pauses. We love her, but we're not blind to her behavior. A wave of relief mingles with sympathy. Despite everything, Lucy's parents are decent folks who genuinely want peace for all of us. "I appreciate that," I say. "I hope she listens." That evening, a ring on my doorbell reveals Lucy's parents standing on the porch, looking determined. I let them in, suspecting Lucy's meltdown triggered this visit. The kids greet them excitedly. Emma hugs Susan, and Lily shows George a new coloring book. Once the girls head off to the living room, George and Susan ask me to sit in the kitchen with them. Susan clasps her hands on the table. We confronted Lucy about her hostility, especially toward Rachel. She's upset and embarrassed, but we told her to focus on being a mother, not a jealous ex. We came here because we want to check on you and the kids directly. I exhale, gratitude washing over me. They're coping. Lucy's anger rattles them, though. George nods, lips pressed in a thin line. Lucy claims Rachel is replacing her. That's nonsense, of course, but it's fueling her resentment. If Lucy comes around, we'll do our best to keep her calm. Susan adds, "We want you to know we support whatever helps Emma and Lily feel secure. If that involves Rachel being in their lives, so be it. Lucy should accept that her choices led to this reality." Her words lift a weight off my chest. I thank them, relieved the girls have grandparents who see things clearly. Before they leave, George gently pats my shoulder, murmuring, "Hang in there, son." That weekend, I invite Rachel over for a casual dinner, just me, her, and the kids. If Lucy tries to crash it, so be it. I'm finished hiding decent people from my daughters just to appease Lucy's jealousy. Emma and Lily help me set the table, giggling as they place mismatched napkins. The doorbell rings right on time, and Rachel enters with a warm smile, Buddy trotting behind. "Hi, girls," she says, offering a bag of chocolate cookies for dessert. Emma gives an excited wave, and Lily kneels to pet Buddy. I catch Rachel's eye, and we share a soft smile and unspoken acknowledgement that Lucy's meltdown isn't going to drive us apart. Dinner is simple pasta, salad, and conversation that flows easily. The kids tease me about my cooking, Rachel banters with them about school projects, and Buddy sits politely, hoping for scraps. The entire scene feels so normal, like a glimpse of a life I never imagined after Lucy's betrayal. Halfway through dinner, Emma clears her throat, looking between Rachel and me. "Dad, is Miss Rachel your girlfriend?" Lily giggles at the question while I choke on my water. Rachel's cheeks flush pink. I exchange a quick glance with Rachel, uncertain how to respond. Eventually, she speaks up, her voice gentle. "We're friends, Emma, really good friends. We care about you and Lily a lot." Emma nods thoughtfully, not fully satisfied. Lily pipes in, "I like her. She's nice." Then she changes the subject, launching into a story about a silly mishap in art class. I shoot Rachel an apologetic grin, and she mouths, "It's okay." My heart pounds, though, because deep down, I wonder if there's truth in Emma's blunt question. After dinner, the kids run upstairs to pick out a board game. Rachel and I start clearing dishes in the kitchen. The overhead light casts a warm glow on the countertop. There's a comforting domesticity in the air. At one point, we reach for the same plate, our hands brushing. It's a small contact, but it sends a spark through my arm. She tucks a strand of hair behind her ear, eyes flicking up to meet mine. "Michael," she murmurs, "I know this is complicated. I don't want to step on Lucy's toes or confuse the kids, but..." She hesitates, searching my face. "I really care about your family, and I care about you too." My pulse kicks up. I set the plate aside, drying my hands. "Rachel, My words catch in my throat. I think of Lucy's meltdown, her raging jealousy. I think of the gentle way Rachel has listened to Emma's worries, or how she helped Lily ride a bike. My voice steadies. "I care about you as well. I just never expected this." She exhales a relieved smile. "Me neither." We stand there a moment, the air thick with the possibility of something deeper than friendship. Before we can fully process it, the kids call us from the living room, eager to start the game. We share a private, almost shy smile, then walk out to join them. That night, after Rachel leaves, I feel an unfamiliar warmth lingering in my chest, like a quiet sense of hope. The kids are in bed, the house is calm. In my mind, I hear Lucy's voice calling Rachel a traitor. But that's Lucy's insecurity speaking. For me, the choice is about moving forward. Lucy refused to fix our marriage. She chose to be with David, then unleashed her fury when her plan collapsed. I'm allowed to find happiness, wherever it emerges. A few days later, Lucy surprises me by texting, "I want to talk, calmly." Normally, I'd brace for a fight, but the wording suggests she might be actually listening to her parents' advice. We arrange a brief meetup at a local coffee shop. I go alone, of course. She arrives looking tired, hollowed out by regret. We sit at a corner table, awkwardly sipping coffee. "I overreacted," she says finally, voice subdued. "It's just Rachel was my friend, and seeing her with you I felt replaced." I nod slowly. "I get that. But she didn't betray you, Lucy. She tried to stop you from self-destructing. You didn't listen." Lucy's eyes glisten. "I know. I'm sorry." She fiddles with her coffee cup. "I'm not ready to see you and Rachel together. But I won't drag the kids into court again. My parents are right. I need to focus on them, not punishing you." A tentative relief settles over me. "I appreciate that," I say softly. "We both want Emma and Lily to be happy. Let's keep them out of adult conflicts." Lucy nods, a tear slipping down her cheek. She brushes it away, stands up and whispers, "Thank you," before walking out. I remain at the table, staring at her abandoned coffee cup. Maybe this is Lucy's first step toward acceptance, realizing she can't rewrite the past, and I'm free to live my own life. At home, I find Emma and Lily working on homework at the kitchen table, referencing the new set of art supplies. They beam up at me as I step inside, the warmth of their presence enveloping me. I sink into a chair, heart buoyed by the knowledge that Lucy, at least, won't sabotage us again if she keeps her word. Later that night, Rachel texts, "How did it go with Lucy?" I smile down at my phone. There's a closeness in our messages that didn't exist before, an openness we were both dancing around. I reply, "Better than expected. She apologized. Maybe she's letting go." Rachel sends a simple heart emoji in response. My own heart stutters, a gentle warmth spreading through my chest. For the first time in what feels like forever, I realize I'm choosing happiness. Not the forced, artificial cheer I tried to maintain when Lucy was cheating, but a genuine step towards something that might heal the wounds. Emma and Lily deserve to see me whole, not bitter and guarded. And maybe, just maybe, Rachel can be part of that journey. It's been nearly a year since Rachel and I made our feelings known, and every day since has felt like rebuilding a house from the ground up, only this time, the foundation is stronger. Our schedules are chaotic, sure, but there's a steady warmth in the home that wasn't there before. Emma and Lily bounce downstairs each morning, chatter filling the kitchen as Rachel helps me pack lunches. Buddy, her golden retriever, snoozes by the couch until one of the girls sneaks him a treat. By now, we've arranged a system for practically everything. School drop-offs, after-school activities, groceries, even bedtime rituals. We haven't moved in together officially, though we've discussed it. Rachel keeps a cozy apartment in the next neighborhood, but she's at our place most evenings, cooking dinner or helping Lily practice her spelling words. Emma often jokes that we might as well give Rachel a key, but I'm hesitant to rush. The scars from Lucy's betrayal still tug at me. It's not that I doubt Rachel, it's more that I'm learning to trust my own decisions again. Patience has become my closest ally. Lucy, of course, is still in the picture as a co-parent. We've found a workable compromise. The girls spend every other weekend at Lucy's small apartment in the next town. It's not glamorous, but Lucy tries to spruce up the space with bright curtains and a small fish tank for the kids. Occasionally, Lucy will call me with an irritated tone about scheduling conflicts, or she'll text me last minute to switch days. Most times, I make an effort to accommodate for the girls' sakes. I remind myself that no matter how messy things got between Lucy and me, Emma and Lily love their mother. They deserve consistency. One Tuesday evening, the four of us, me, Rachel, Emma, and Lily, sit around the dining room table, planning a small birthday party for Lily. She's turning 8 soon, and she wants a backyard bash with a bouncy house. Emma, now 10, teases Lily about big kid parties, but Lily insists she wants an inflatable castle and sparkly decorations. Rachel laughs. You can never be too old for a bouncy house. She glances at me, eyes twinkling. Right, Michael? I grin sheepishly. Sure, though I might break something if I jump around. The girls giggle. Buddy wags his tail under the table, hoping for dropped food. As we discuss invitations, Lily mentions, Mom said she might come. Is that okay, Dad? Her tone carries a hint of worry. I share a quick look with Rachel. We both know Lucy's presence can be unpredictable. Of course it's okay, I tell Lily. She's your mom. We'll work it out. Lily brightens and Emma nods with relief. I feel a swell of gratitude that we've managed to reach a point where Lucy's attendance at a family event won't cause immediate chaos, at least. That's the hope. After the kids head to bed, Rachel and I tidy up the kitchen. I watch her hum quietly as she stacks plates, marveling at how effortlessly she's become part of our day-to-day life. When we finish, she leans against the counter, fiddling with a stray spoon. You know, she says softly, I've been thinking about the future, about us. My heart flutters. She's said similar things before, but I sense a deeper seriousness in her voice tonight. Me too, I admit. I don't want to rush the girls. They've been through so much. Rachel nods, sliding the spoon into a drawer. I get that. I just want you to know I'm here for the long haul, whenever you're ready for the next step. For a moment, the only sound is the soft hum of the fridge. I reach out, wrapping my arms around her in a light hug. It's surreal after all the pain Lucy's affair caused. I never imagined I'd feel this steady warmth again. But here we are, forging a blended family piece by piece. Over the next week, we juggle ordinary challenges. Lily's last-minute art project, Emma's soccer practice, Rachel's work deadlines, my own hectic job demands. Each day is packed with minor triumphs and irritations, lost homework, Buddy chewing on a slipper, a quick midweek grocery run so we don't starve. But there's comfort in the routine. One evening, Lucy calls in a better mood than usual. She chats briefly with the girls, then asks to speak with me. My guard goes up, but her tone remains calm. Listen, I appreciate you letting me come to Lily's birthday party next month, she says. I'm trying to do better for them. I clear my throat, still cautious. That's good. Lily would love to see you there. A moment of silence hangs between us. Lucy exhales. You've built a good environment for them, she says, a tinge of regret in her voice. I'll respect that. Though it's just a few words, they carry a weight I can't ignore. It's a small admission that Lucy recognizes the stable life the girls have with me and by extension with Rachel. Thanks, I reply, not sure what else to say. We end the call, and I stare at my phone, marveling at how far we've come from the venomous arguments of the past. Still, I wonder about the future. Will Lucy remain civil if things progress with Rachel? Right now, Lucy seems preoccupied with her own life, her job, the cramped apartment, whatever's left of her relationship with David. I try not to pry. My focus stays on Emma and Lily and on building a sense of security in our home. On a quiet Sunday, we tackle yard work as a family, Rachel raking leaves, Emma and Lily picking out spots to plant flowers, me trimming overgrown shrubs. Buddy runs laps with a stick clamped between his teeth. As we work, neighbors pass by, greeting us with a wave. I recall how, a year ago, the mere act of standing in front of this house made my stomach churn, haunted by Lucy's secrets. Now, the same space feels open and bright. Toward evening, we pile onto the living room couch, exhausted, hair mussed with leaves. The girls watch a cartoon while Rachel leans against my shoulder, Buddy curled at our feet. My chest tightens with gratitude. For so long I trudged under the weight of Lucy's betrayal. But now, in this blended existence, I see how far we've come. The journey isn't perfect. Co-parenting with Lucy is a constant balancing act, and the kids still have emotional scars, but we're healing together. A gentle, hopeful dawn has broken over our lives, and for once I believe it might last. Despite the relative peace we've found at home, word starts reaching me about Lucy's struggles. It begins as small hints, George calling to ask if I've heard from her recently, or Susan mentioning Lucy's finances are tighter than ever. Then Emma and Lily come home from a weekend visit, subdued. Emma tugs at my sleeve, wanting a private talk. "Dad," she whispers in the hallway, "Mom seemed really sad this time. She was crying a lot. There wasn't much food in the fridge." Her eyes glisten. "Is she okay?" My gut twists. I knew Lucy wasn't thriving after the divorce, but I hadn't realized it was this bad. "I'm not sure," I say, stroking Emma's hair. "But I'll check on her, okay? You don't need to worry." Emma nods, relieved. Still, the gnawing concern grows. I text Lucy to see if everything's all right, receiving a vague reply. "I'm fine. Busy." She's never been one to ask for help, and her pride likely keeps her from admitting how shaky her situation is. A week later, I'm doing laundry when the phone rings Lucy, voice trembling. "Michael? Could you help me with something?" She sounds on the verge of tears. "My car died, and I'm short on money for repairs. I'm stuck." I pause, heart racing with conflicting emotions. Part of me wants to remind her that she chose this path, that her affair cost us both dearly. Another part remembers our daughters, how they still rely on Lucy's stability, even if she's lost her way. "Where are you?" I ask quietly. She exhales shakily. "In front of a grocery store near my place, the engine won't start. I asked David for help, but he's not around." David's not around, no surprise. I picture Lucy alone in a parking lot, feeling abandoned. "I'll come by," I say. "Let me call a tow truck and see what we can do." "Thank you," she breathes, voice cracking. When I arrive, Lucy stands by her aging sedan, arms folded, eyes hollow. Her hair is limp, face drawn. She looks nothing like the confident woman who once breezed through our home. The tow truck operator fiddles with the engine, eventually shaking his head. Lucy rubs her temples, obviously overwhelmed. I ask for details: how much for repairs? Does she have an alternative? She admits her credit cards are maxed out. I pull her aside. "Look, I can't just hand you money, Lucy," I say firmly. "But I'm willing to pay the mechanic bill for the sake of the kids, so you can keep picking them up. We'll figure out a repayment plan, all right?" Tears fill her eyes. She nods, humiliated but desperate. "Okay." That night, I write a check to the auto shop, wincing at the expense. In the back of my mind, I recall Lucy's child support payments were never high to begin with, and she's behind on a couple of them. But confronting her about that now feels cruel. She's clearly at rock bottom, and as frustrating as she's been, I don't want Emma and Lily to see their mom destroyed. A few days later, Lucy calls me in tears again. This time, she's behind on rent. David's apparently ghosting her. She's on the brink of eviction. I stay calm, asking if she's reached out to her parents. She confesses she's too ashamed to let them bail her out. My chest tightens with conflicting sympathy and exasperation. What do you want me to do, Lucy? I ask quietly. She falters. Just talk to me, she pleads. I feel so alone. I close my eyes, recalling the swirl of emotions when I discovered her affair. The memory stings, but I can't ignore that she's the mother of my kids. I'm not sure how much I can help, I say, choosing my words carefully. You might need a second job or a cheaper place. Have you thought about seeing a counselor? She scoffs through tears. Counselor? I can't afford that. I'm barely making ends meet. A bitter laugh escapes her. This is what I deserve, isn't it? For betraying you? Her self-pitying tone triggers a flash of anger, but also sadness. I'm not punishing you, I murmur. But you have to own your choices. If you need help, you can't expect me to fix everything. The kids come first. She sniffs. I know. Then, with a broken sigh, I just miss them so much, and I hate how my life turned out. I gently remind her she still has visitation. She can see Emma and Lily, even if her circumstances are tough. She murmurs a thank you, then hangs up. I stand there, phone in hand, feeling a wave of conflicting emotions. Lucy's downfall is painful to watch, but part of me remembers all the heartbreak she inflicted. My sympathy only goes so far. I keep telling myself that if she truly wants to rise from this spiral, she'll find a way. Rachel notices my tension, especially after Lucy's calls. One evening, she sits beside me on the couch, Buddy curled at our feet. I can see it weighing on you, she says softly. You want to help Lucy, but you're scared she'll drag you into another mess. I let out a shaky breath. I don't want to see her homeless or financially ruined. Emma and Lily would be devastated. But I can't keep bailing her out. She needs to stand on her own. Rachel nods, resting her hand on my arm. Then help her set boundaries. Provide resources if you can, but don't let her spiral pull you under. The girls need you steady. Her calm perspective soothes me. I realize Lucy's downward spiral must end with Lucy choosing to stand on her own 2 feet. I'm not her lifeline anymore, not after everything that happened. If she keeps sinking, I can't rescue her at the cost of my own family's stability. A few weeks pass, and I hear through Susan that Lucy borrowed money from her parents to catch up on rent. She's taken a second job at a local retail store, working nights. It's a small sign of improvement, but she's far from stable. Meanwhile, Emma and Lily sense their mother's struggles. Emma especially grows quiet after returning from Lucy's place. She confides that Lucy's apartment is cluttered, the atmosphere tense. My heart aches for my daughters, forced to see their mom unravel. Yet I do notice Lucy calling them more often, albeit in tears sometimes. It's a complicated cycle. She's trying to stay connected, but she's also wallowing in regret. One day, Lily bursts into tears at breakfast, sobbing that she wishes her mom wouldn't cry so much. I hug her, feeling helpless. Rachel suggests we encourage Lucy to talk to a financial counselor or look into therapy at a reduced-fee clinic. I pass the suggestion along to Lucy, who doesn't reply at first, but eventually texts back a short maybe. Throughout it all, I remind myself, Lucy's downfall is a direct result of her choices, and I can't shield her from consequences. Still, Emma and Lily love her, and I want them to see their mother eventually find some footing. Every conversation with Lucy is a tightrope, balancing compassion for the kids' sake with the firm boundary that she can't drag me into her chaos. One late afternoon, as I'm leaving work, Lucy calls again, her voice low and trembling. Michael, I just want to say I'm sorry. She sounds sober, introspective. I shouldn't have hurt you the way I did, and I hate that I'm making the kids worry. She pauses, swallowing hard. I'll do better, I promise. I'm not sure if her promise means anything permanent, but I quietly say, I hope so, Lucy. For Emma and Lily's sake, I really hope so. We end the call, leaving me standing in the parking lot under a bruised sunset sky. She's in free fall, but maybe she's found the motivation to catch herself before it's too late. I head home to my own new life, determined to keep forging ahead, even as Lucy's storm rages on the periphery. Early spring sunlight streams through the school auditorium windows as parents and siblings trickle in for Emma's science fair. She's been working on an exhibit about renewable energy, sporting a bright poster board and a small wind turbine model. Lily skips beside me, excited to see Emma's presentation. Rachel, holding Lily's hand, radiates the same supportive warmth that's become part of our everyday life. I can't help feeling proud. Emma put so much effort into this project. We settle in near Emma's display, waiting for her turn to explain her experiment to the judges. The room hums with chatter, other kids, parents, teachers. Then I spot Lucy lingering by the double doors, shoulders tense, scanning the crowd as if unsure whether she belongs. She catches my eye and approaches, wearing a tentative smile. "Hi." Lucy greets Lily with a quick hug, then turns to me. Her voice is subdued. "Thanks for letting me know about Emma's fair. I almost forgot the date." I nod, noting the weary lines on Lucy's face. She's definitely been through the ringer these past months. "Emma wanted you to be here. I'm glad you came." She exhales, casting a brief glance at Rachel, who's a few steps away, chatting quietly with Lily. The tension is palpable, but Lucy seems determined to stay polite. "Hi, Rachel," she says, forcing a civil tone. Rachel greets her back, equally calm. Lily waves excitedly, oblivious to the undercurrent. "Hey, Mom, come see Emma's model. She made a wind turbine." Lily tugs Lucy's hand, pulling her closer to the display. Lucy follows, an uncertain expression on her face. Emma beams when she sees Lucy. "Mom, you made it!" She quickly explains the basics of her renewable energy experiment, her words tumbling out in a rush. Lucy nods, listening attentively, eyes flicking to me and Rachel occasionally. I stand back, letting Emma have her moment. I catch Rachel's reassuring smile, and my chest swells with gratitude. Not long ago, Lucy's mere presence would have ignited conflict. Now we're navigating this moment with cautious respect. After the presentation, Emma heads off with the other participants, waiting for the judge's feedback. Lucy lingers by the poster board, picking at the edges. "She's so grown up," she murmurs, a wistful note in her voice. "I remember when she was just drawing stick figures." "Time flies," I reply, not sure what else to add. There's a lull, and Lucy looks at me, something raw in her eyes. "Michael, can we talk somewhere? Privately?" she asks, voice hushed. I glance at Rachel, who's busy helping Lily find a seat. "Sure," I say. "Let's step into the hallway." We walk out of the auditorium, finding a quiet corner near a vending machine. The hum of fluorescent lights overhead feels oddly comforting. Lucy takes a breath, crossing her arms. "I've been thinking a lot lately about everything." Her tone wavers. "I realize I never truly apologized for the pain I caused. Even when I said sorry, it was half-hearted, or tied up with my own anger." I stay silent, letting her speak. She continues, voice trembling. "You deserved so much better than the lies and the manipulation. I got swept up in my own resentments, thinking I wasn't appreciated. But that's on me. I should have talked to you or sought help before I let it get so far." My pulse thuds in my ears. For a moment, I recall the heartbreak of finding those texts, the confrontation, the legal battle. My anger flares briefly, but I control it, exhaling slowly. "I appreciate your honesty," I say, carefully measured. Lucy's eyes brim with unshed tears. "I know you're with Rachel now, and that Emma and Lily adore her. I can't pretend that doesn't hurt, but I also know I have no right to stand in your way. I lost that chance." She swallows hard, glancing down at her worn shoes. "I hope one day we can truly co-parent without all this tension. I don't want Emma and Lily to feel torn between us anymore." A wave of unexpected relief washes over me. It's as if a final boulder of bitterness lifts from my shoulders. "That's all I ever wanted," I admit, my voice low. "I wanted to give the girls stability. I'm sorry things turned out like this, but—" Lucy raises a hand gently. "No, it's my fault. I chose to cheat, to keep pushing the affair even when you tried to fix things. And I own that." Her voice cracks. "I hope you can forgive me someday." Forgiveness is a big word, one that doesn't come easily. But in this echoing hallway with the faint hum of Emma's science fair in the background, I realize I'm already moving past raw anger. "I'm not sure if I can forget," I say slowly. "But I can try to let go of the bitterness, for my sake and the kids. That's all I can promise right now." Lucy's lips quiver as she nods. A tear slips down her cheek. She wipes it away quickly, embarrassed. "Thank you," she whispers. "It means a lot." For a few heartbeats, we stand there in a strange calm. This moment of closure feels surreal, like the final scene in a movie I never wanted to be part of. But maybe it's what we both need to move forward, to release the resentment and blame that weighed us down. A burst of laughter filters through the auditorium doors, likely kids celebrating something. Lucy straightens, blinking away moisture in her eyes. "We should get back," she murmurs, offering a shaky smile. We return to find Emma wide-eyed with excitement. She got an honorable mention for creativity. Lily bounces around her sister, proud as can be. Rachel beams and congratulates Emma, giving her a quick side hug. Lucy joins in, praising Emma's hard work. I hover in the background, watching as Lucy and Rachel exchange a civil nod. It's not friendly exactly, but it's free of hostility. For the first time, I sense a fragile peace forming among us all. When it's time to leave, Lucy says goodbye to Emma and Lily. She also glances my way, offering a small smile. "Take care," she says, "and tell Rachel I appreciate her taking care of the girls when I wasn't able to." The statement is halting, but it sounds genuine. I nod. "Will do. We'll see you this weekend, right?" "Yes," she confirms, smoothing down Lily's hair. "I'll make sure we have a good time." As she heads out, I stand there, letting the moment sink in. Rachel moves beside me, quietly placing a hand on my arm, and I turn to see her questioning gaze. "Everything okay?" she asks gently. I manage a small smile. "Yeah," I say, voice thick with emotion. Lucy and I cleared the air, as much as possible anyway. Rachel's eyes fill with relief. I'm glad. We gather the kids, collecting Emma's poster and Lily's scattered papers. I hold the door open for them, stepping into the spring sunlight. Despite the swirling memories, I feel a sense of lightness in my chest. Lucy's apology doesn't erase the past, but it's an acknowledgement of what happened, and maybe that's enough to ease the final echoes of anger. I catch Emma's excited chatter about her honorable mention, Lily's giggling about the leftover science fair cookies, and Rachel's contented smile. Life marches on, and in this moment I realize the war truly is over. What remains is acceptance, compassion, and a steady step forward. A gentle spring breeze filters through the open windows of the house as I help Emma and Lily with their chores. Emma's wiping the kitchen countertops while Lily reorganizes the shoe rack by the door. Rachel's voice floats from the living room, humming quietly while she packs a bag for a day trip we've planned. A picnic near a scenic overlook. It's the kind of calm weekend that once felt impossible, no tension simmering, no dread of Lucy barging in with a meltdown. We're simply living. I glance at the family calendar pinned to the fridge, noting Lucy's next visitation date. For once, I don't feel that twist of anxiety. Lately, Lucy's been more stable, still strapped for cash, but she's paying what she can for child support and sticking to the schedule. The kids come back from her place with fewer complaints, and Lucy texts me updates on random things, like Emma's new soccer schedule, in a polite tone. It's a fragile peace, but a peace nonetheless. Today marks a milestone, too. Rachel and I have been quietly discussing a bigger commitment. The girls have asked if she's going to officially live with us, and I no longer see a reason to delay. My hesitation has eased. Rachel's proven her dedication 100 times over. So this morning, while the kids were busy with chores, I quietly slipped a small velvet box into my pocket. It's not a flashy diamond ring, just something that symbolizes love, new beginnings. If the moment feels right later, I might ask her if she'd consider marrying me. It's a thought that still makes my heart race, but it also fills me with a deep sense of rightness. This is the woman who supported me when the world felt bleak, who stepped into my daughter's lives with kindness and respect. She's the partner Lucy never could be, and that realization brings an odd mix of grief for the past and hope for the future. We load up the car, me, Rachel, Emma, Lily, and Buddy. The drive to the overlook is an hour of banter and laughter, the girls singing along to a pop radio station while Buddy pokes his nose out the window. When we arrive, we find a spot near a tall oak tree. The overlook provides a sweeping view of rolling hills, dotted with wildflowers. Rachel spreads out a blanket and starts pulling out sandwiches and snacks from her bag. Lily and Emma run around with Buddy, who's thrilled by the open space. As we eat, we talk about random stuff. Emma's upcoming science camp, Lily's newfound obsession with baking cookies, Rachel's plan to rescue another dog once she moves in permanently, if I'm okay with that. I chuckle, imagining the chaos of two big dogs, but it feels like a sweet kind of chaos. After lunch, the girls wander off to pick wildflowers at the edge of the field, Buddy bounding at their heels. Rachel and I stroll to the overlook, gazing at the landscape. The sun feels warm on our faces, and a gentle breeze rustles the tall grass around us. There's a moment of stillness where neither of us speaks, just taking in the beauty of the horizon. My heart pounds as I slip my hand into my pocket, fingertips brushing the little box. Rachel, I begin, my voice slightly unsteady. There's something I've been wanting to talk to you about. She turns, eyebrows lifting in curiosity. Oh, you sound serious. I draw in a calming breath, slowly pulling out the box. Her eyes widen in surprise, hands flying to her mouth. I can't help but grin at her reaction. I know we've talked about the future, about living together, but I want more than that. I hold out the box, opening it to reveal the modest ring. Will you marry me? For a heartbeat, it feels like time freezes. Then Rachel's eyes fill with tears, and she breaks into a radiant smile. Yes, she breathes, voice trembling. Yes, of course. Relief and joy crash over me in a dizzying wave. I slip the ring onto her finger, an almost surreal moment, given the painful path that led me here. But in this quiet second, all I feel is gratitude. We embrace, the breeze carrying the distant laughter of Emma and Lily. Then the girls notice what's happening and come rushing over, Buddy barking in excitement. They spot the ring, realize what it means, and squeal with delight. Rachel's gonna be our stepmom? Lily asks, eyes shining. Rachel kneels, hugging them both. If that's okay with you, she says, tears in her voice. Emma nods vigorously, and Lily jumps with glee. It's a scene of pure acceptance I never thought possible in the aftermath of Lucy's betrayal. Later, as we pack up the picnic, my phone buzzes. A text from Lucy. Girls left a jacket here. Do you want me to drop it off? I can't help a small smile noticing her calm tone, a far cry from her old hostility. I reply, thanks, that'd be great. Let me know when. I glance at Rachel, who's feeding Buddy a treat. My future wife. The phrase still thrills me. No longer am I the man weighed down by heartbreak, scheming how to maintain custody. My world has shifted into one of progress and possibility. Lucy's meltdown taught me that betrayal can be survived, that justice can come in forms both legal and emotional, and that a new dawn can rise from the ashes. Back at the car, Rachel hugs me tight, whispering, "Thank you for this." I never expected. I cut her off with a soft laugh. Neither did I admit. But here we are. She smiles, leaning her forehead against mine. For an instant, I flash back to the day I discovered Lucy's affair, the pain so sharp I thought I'd never recover. Now I realize I've not only survived, but I've built something richer with someone who truly stands by me. We drive home as a newly engaged family, the girls chattering about how they can help plan a simple ceremony. Emma suggests we do it in the backyard. Lily mentions a dog-themed wedding for Buddy. Rachel and I exchange fond looks, amused by their excited ideas. The sun dips lower, painting the sky in a swirl of pink and orange. In that glow, I see the horizon of my life, the one I once feared was lost. At home, the kids race upstairs to unwind, Buddy following. Rachel and I linger in the kitchen, the ring glinting on her hand as she rests it on the counter. We should probably tell Lucy eventually, she says gently, referencing how this engagement might impact co-parenting. I nod, bracing for the conversation. We will, but I think she's in a place where she can handle it. Honestly, we all deserve some peace. She steps into my arms, the warmth of her presence chasing away any lingering doubts. Agreed, she says softly. I think back to a darker time when every day felt like a battle in court or a silent war at home. In the end, Lucy's betrayal did receive its bitter outcome. She lost the family she took for granted. But from that bitterness grew my determination to protect our daughters. And in the quiet aftermath of victory, I found something unexpected. Genuine love and companionship. I hold Rachel close, pressing a small kiss to her forehead. The house hums with the sounds of children, the faint clatter of Lily searching for crayons, Emma calling for Rachel to see something on her phone. The air carries a sense of renewal. Tomorrow may bring new challenges, co-parenting tensions, everyday mishaps, but we'll face them with unity, not fear. Rachel smiles up at me, eyes sparkling. "A new dawn," she murmurs, echoing the phrase we've used half-jokingly for the fresh start in our lives. "Yeah," I whisper, returning her smile. "A new dawn." In this moment, the final ghosts of Lucy's betrayal fade, replaced by an unwavering belief that we can move forward without bitterness. The future stretches out before us, bright and promising, like the horizon we saw earlier today. And as Rachel and I stand here, arms around each other, I know we'll step into it together, hopeful, healed, and ready for whatever comes next.